Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xenon Gaming Series. I'm Slayzilla, joined with the lovely Myst. Not who's that name above you? What is that? What is it? Battery? Could we get some work on this? Huh? Could we figure this out? Anyway, we're here for our almost finale. Not quite, but it's gonna be our big ol' third place deciding matchup between SpaceShoobs and Zero Risk. I'm excited for this. Of course, this will be the last game that we see before the grand finals on Sunday, so should be a good one. These teams were able to make it pretty far into the playoffs, but got cut down by their opposing teams right in the semifinals.
Yeah, it might not be the grand finals of the entire tournament, but for both of these teams, it's their last chance at getting some piece of that prize. I believe it's $25 up for grabs, the entrance fee to participate in the league. So getting that money back is always back, and it pre-qualifies you for the upcoming season. So first, second, and third, make themselves qualified there, which is very, very nice for them. But yeah, this should be an exciting match. Both Zero Risk and SpaceShoobs kind of coming into their own as the season's gone by. Obviously, with Zero Risk, they only played one playoffs match so far since they had that first seed bye, being cut down by Valence in that semifinals match or the upper bracket there. But I don't know how much of that was they were playing bad. With Valence has just been on a roll in these recent weeks, looking like it is just a
Oh
dominant
man.
team.
They've been insane, right? I mean, even after getting picked up by Valence, of course, previously known as 96 Bulls, for those unaware, they've been doing real well. And of course, we've got Mr. Pang, who shut down the dreams of the Space Shoobs in their semifinal matches as well. So, honestly, Space Shoobs had such a good storyline going into the playoffs. It was a really, really fun one to watch. So, I'm excited to kind of see the end to that storyline. Very sad for this to be the end, but they could still walk away with a nice third place. But they've got to chew through Zero Risk, who did have a very formidable showing throughout the regular season. Of course, as you mentioned, only playing one game against Valence in the semifinals. Didn't work out for them too well, but here's a great chance for both teams to prove to themselves and everyone else that they're still here and they can put the work in.
Yeah, what interests me the most so far about this match is I was doing some looking at the maps that these teams have played, at least in recent history. Zero Risk, obviously a little bit less is known. They only played one best of three, and Valence kind of cut them down in the first two maps there. So they've only played Cafe, which was their map choice, and Bank, which was Valence. Just a great map choice for them overall. But if you look at the spaceships, they've played two best of threes, 5 games total, and they've played five different maps. They haven't repeated a map yet. They played Bank, Clubhouse, Oregon, Border, and Villa. So there's a chance here that they could bring that up to 8 out of the 9 potential maps in the entire pool played for themselves in playoffs. And just overall, the only map that they've played that overlaps in this playoff is that Bank. And neither of these teams won that map, and both teams looked a little shaky on it. So there's a chance we won't see that there either. So for me, at least, this map pool is very wide open for what we might get out of these teams.
That's exciting, man. There's a lot of options, but there's Zero Risk taking Oregon off the board, which is a little exciting because Oregon is one of those that stays a lot. You mentioned Bank not being a favorite for either team. The spaceships certainly do. Waste no time in banning that out. Next will be the first two picks. Zero Risk will start, then the Shoobs, and we'll have a couple of bans. By a couple, I do mean four before we find our decider for this best of three. As we mentioned, it is infinite overtime, so there's no telling how far into these maps we could go.
Yeah, these two map bans, Bank, not a great map for either team, but the Oregon one I think is very interesting because Zero Risk was kind of indifferent towards it in like the actual group stage, and throughout playoffs I believe they floated as well, banning it out as the eighth map banned there. So just seeing that gone early is very nice to see. It means that we have all three of those new maps up right now: Skyscraper, Border, and Theme Park being up. I don't believe Zero Risk has played any of those maps so far, and I mean, this is the end of the season, man. If you've got something in your sleeve, now's the time to show it. You don't gain anything extra from keeping it hidden away. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what we get out of this first map. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like a Cafe Villa, just something a little bit more standard, but not quite as run down as something like Oregon is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the bands go through. So I'm looking to these first two picks. Of course, in a best of three, you're guaranteed to see those first two maps no matter what happens. So it really should be either those maps where they're going to be comfortable on or maps where they just want to go all out and say, check this out, check out what we can do. Because, like you said, no point saving strats as this is going to be your final game of the Xenon Gaming Series season. So I can't wait, man. It'll be interesting. Zero Risk, of course, we mentioned they boasted a very, very high point total throughout that regular season. It was a little bit of a shame for them to be just cut down so quickly. I felt like I didn't get to know them too well. So I'm interested to see as you predicted it, we'd go to Cafe, which honestly is still a pretty common map, but not nearly as common as it used to be when I first began casting. It was a consistent thing. Cafe was one of the big three before Oregon had its rework and came back in. So I'm excited to go back to Cafe. You kind of mentioned before as well, and a lot of people talk about how with the attacker repicks and all the changes with attackers, it becomes a little bit more difficult to defend.
Yeah, the map stylistically has changed a lot, and I kind of like this pick just because neither of the sides feel too bad. So as you're getting into it, it's a good map to choose as that opening map because obviously since Zero Rix pick the map, SpaceShoobs get to pick the starting side, and starting attack on Cafe no longer feels as bad as it did. So getting like a 50-50 side going into a best of 3 series is definitely a good way to wake up and get yourself into it. For the second map here, the spaceships I know they heavily favor something like Clubhouse, so seeing that there's not too surprising. But with only 4 map bans left, all 3 of the new maps are still up, so there's a good chance we see something. I'd assume it'd be closer to like the theme park, not rather than like the skyscraper being left up. I don't think either of these teams have played it, but if they've got something there, then we might get to see that, and that would be a treat. Other than that, you gotta feel like Villa's still always in contention for that last map. Just an everyman staple of the competitive R6, especially like at this level that we're at. So everyone knows how to play Villa, and I think given that, it'd be a very exciting map 3 to see here. Just brawling it all out there on
Mhm.
on something like Villa, but I'd love to see something like a skyscraper come out for map 3, man.
I mean, maybe, right? That could be something we see, but Skyscraper really hasn't been played too much. It'd be fun to go there, but I think the Villa would make the most sense to come down to. Theme Park Villa would be what I'd put my money on. But you know what? There are still a lot of those maps up. You've got Border up, you've got Chalet is an option we could go to. So there's a lot of choices for these teams to go through and ban. Of course, they will ban 4 of those maps before we ever get down to the final. That's the lovely upside of having 9 maps in a pool. There are so many options and so many different potential strategies you could employ. So it'll be interesting. But you know what? No matter what map of what no matter what map we go to on the decider, it should be a good one, right? You always want to have some fun. There's the border being banned out, so we won't be seeing that map with Zero Risk taking it off the board. Looking closer and closer to that villa for the map 3.
You know, I'm not too public about the maps that I personally enjoy, but Skyscraper and Chalet are some of my favorite maps in the competitive pool right now. And if we could get either of those, I'd be more than happy. I don't believe I've cast a game on Chalet yet in this league, and that would be something that I'd love to have in something like this third place match coming out. Border being gone, it makes sense. The pool that we see so far here, Cafe, Clubhouse, and well now the border being banned. If border made it all the way through, this would be such an attacker-sided affair. Clubhouse in modern times, you talked about Cafe shifting. Clubhouse has done just an absolute 180, and it feels like the defenders are just always playing with their leg tied behind their back there. So getting something like an extra border in there, it wouldn't feel good. The Shoobs ban out Skyscraper, so we're not going to see that. Looks like we are on track for this train to just go straight to Villa Chalet for the last 2. Maybe they'll surprise us though. Maybe they've got something in the bag for them, a little dog treat, if you will, for the Shoobs.
Little dog treat for the Shoobs. I like that, man. We'll see. So Zero Risk will have that next Ben. Of course, we have the theme park, we have the chalet, and then we have the villa. Oh, hey, look at that. We're guaranteed a theme park or a chalet. So that's good news. Zero Risk have taken off now 2 of the big maps, 2 of the big 3 meta maps, which is kind of interesting. It goes to show that maybe they do feel more comfortable on some of these more off meta maps. So this will put it up to the Shoobs to decide where we go to for that map 3. But again, it's up to these 2 teams to decide if we even see Chalet, which will be our map 3. It's going to have to go one apiece for them to get there. So I'm excited to see it, man. If it is going to be a one-sided matchup, it'd be sad for us to not see all 3 maps, but great job from whichever team pulls it out. But I, of course, will be looking to go all 3 maps. This is the final showing these 2 teams get in this season of play.
I love what you said there. Zero Risk are not afraid to ban out these common maps, and I think that's the sign of a good team, right? You're not afraid to go off of the beaten path just a little bit to something like leaving theme park up for this last map. That's always a risk to leave that up. And Zero Risk is not a bad team. If anything, Valence has just been surging recently. And had they come up against a different team, maybe they would have been in the finals. But like, you gotta love to see that these players are still giving it their all and they're willing to take risks, even if it's just leaving something like a theme park up and being comfortable on that. We get to see the starting side selections come out now. SpaceShoobs choosing to start defense on Cafe, and Zero Risk choosing to start defense on Clubhouse. That's an interesting one for me. It's obviously the more comfortable from like a rank standpoint. Everyone would rather be on defense Clubhouse, but if the spaceships have their coordination on there, we saw it. I believe it was in the spaceships versus Mr. Peng, where they flipped a 5-1 deficit, or sorry, 4-1 deficit into 6 rounds in a row, transitioning into their attacking half. 5 attacking rounds consecutively against a team that's now in the grand finals, and you're choosing to let them start on that side. That's an interesting choice, and I really hope they've got something prepared for that.
There's no question that the Space Shoob gang are an elite group of attackers. I've been saying that since I saw it in Twitch chat one time or something like that. Not sure how it came about, but it was because of that map, right? It was because they were down pretty dang bad and they just grouped together all those rounds. That was the game that got them into the playoffs. Of course, it was that, and then Bedroom had to lose to Clem Daddy. It was a whole thing. It was crazy what they had to do and what they had to hope for to get in. So still a big fan of the storyline that the Space Shoops laid down. Zero Risk, though, you know what? They are not a bad team at all. And you said it, they just kind of got a little bit ran over by a team that has been popping Valence, just going insane. Everywhere you look, it is just Valence taking dubs these days. So this is a great opportunity for both of these teams to just stick it to them, man. To just say, hey, all right, it's the end of the season. Let's go out with a bang. So I'm expecting that from both teams. It'll be interesting to see if we see both teams taking their map pick, taking us to Chalet, or if it'll be something else. If we'll see, maybe the Space Shoob start off great on Cafe and it's up to Zero Risk having to really buckle down on that defense. I can't wait for these storylines to develop. It's always so exciting facing down a best of 3 series because it's more like a chapter book than anything, right? You get to see so much siege, and I just love every second of it. So, as we prepare to go into Cafe, which will be our map 1, I'm really, really excited to see what these two teams can bring to the board.
As we're waiting for Cafe, I think this is the absolute perfect time for it, Slay. I got two questions for you. Do we see map 3, and who wins the series overall?
Ooh. Well, if we go off the oh no, I just we'll worry about that later. If we go off the fact that the spaceships do tend to excel on the attack, or at least they're supposed to. We've seen them struggle in times before. All 3 of these maps don't really heavily lean to the defense at all. Now, that being said, we also saw Zero Risk be very comfortable to just immediately ban out some of the big meta maps, which would tell me that they've got a lot of spicy things up their sleeves. They're not scared. I would say I would say that we do go to a map 3. My prediction is a little bit of a dry one, but I think both teams will take their maps. I mean, spaceships love Clubhouse. That's their home. They are
Yeah.
always trying to go to Clubhouse, and for Zero Risk to let them might have been a mistake. Should have been potentially the Clubhouse that came out as the first ban instead of the Oregon. They might have had other reasons to get that map out of the first place, but I'm interested to see, right? Clubhouse is a very, very common map. Both teams will be comfortable on it. So that's really going to be the proving grounds for spaceships. When you have a team take another team to one of these super common maps, it's more about out finessing them than having, like, oh, we pulled out a crazy map on you. It's all about it's all about the gameplay and making sure that what you do is going to be better than them because everyone's so prepared to go to that. So I'd like to see both teams take their map as we go to Chalet. That's the big question, right? That's the decider. I don't know, man. I don't know. I love the spaceships. They had a great storyline, but Zero Risk. I'm hoping for them to have this map to really, really show themselves what they can do. They had a tough, just getting into that first round bye and then immediately getting the 2-0-2 felt so bad for them. So in the back of my mind, I'm hoping for them to be able to bring it back. But at the same time, man, I love both these teams. I couldn't say who wins, but I'm leaning a little bit towards Zero Risk. With that being said, the space shubes are so loved by everyone. You just can't go wrong with them. What about you? What are
That's
your
true.
thoughts as we head in?
See, this is interesting because the spaceships have not played Cafe. It's not part of the list of maps that they've played so far, including their 5 different maps played in playoffs. So there's guaranteed at least one new map for them here, as well as Chalet if we go all three. And Zero Risk looked good on Cafe. So I kind of expect Zero Risk to win that, but as you said, the spaceships call Clubhouse home, and they really showed us why they called it home a couple of weeks ago now. And I'd expect them to win that too. So if that wasn't Cafe, or it was something we knew the Shoobs played, I'd see them winning this in a 2-0 fashion, honestly. But with Zero Risk, I think they're gonna win Cafe, and Chalet is the interesting one because I genuinely don't know who's gonna win it. Space Shoobs played it once in week 3 of groups, and they lost it. That's it. That's all we know about that map here. So I think it might descend into some really cool impulsive siege, like just reacting to what the other team is doing instead of relying on some crazy setups that maybe people just aren't comfortable on. And I think that's something that is so hard to predict. But if I had to predict, I feel like I have to say spaceships or everyone in chat's gonna hate me forever. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to the spaceships in 3.
That's how I felt, man. I felt like I was going up against the crowd. It was like the Dark Zero Team Liquid game when all the
Oh yeah,
casters had to the
that
analysts
was
had
a
to
great game,
decide.
man.
It was a crazy game, Dark Zero, man. No. It was a good major. You went to the major, right? You were
I
there.
did, yeah.
It's
It
awesome.
was the Dark Zero Liquid game was the I think the loudest in the entire arena. That was crazy, man. The those Brazilian fans can cheer. That's all I gotta say.
Oh
There
my
was only
gosh.
maybe like 100 of them there total to like near 1,000 for rooting for NA, and they were about equal in the arena. It was crazy.
Oh, I wish I could have gone, man. It's just, oh, it's like it was just watching it from home. I mean, I got some packs right. I had a nice Malusi skin, but it was like I just want to be there, man. I just want. Oh, but you know what? We have some games of our own, and I'm excited for that. Oh, so with Cafe, the last time we saw Zero Risk on that Cafe was when they went up against Valence in those semifinals, and they did fight very hard. Again, the 96 Bulls Valence squad, incredibly kinetic. Once those guys get moving, it's so hard to stop them, and they were able to take 5 rounds in a row on that. They transitioned perfectly onto their attacking side. It was a 7-5, though, at the end of it. So that's as close as you can get to overtime. I really think that Zero Risk should have that advantage on Cafe. It's their map. They wanted to go there. Um, I'm interested though. I'm interested to see what the spaceships can pull off. You've got a lot of great players from Zero Risk that you're going to have to contend with, but just the same, you've seen some spaceship guys go absolutely insane.
Thunder.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Thunder, yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm really glad you brought up that close scoreline too, because when you're playing these best of threes, these long drawn-out series, momentum's not just a in-map thing. You don't just get the momentum round to round; it's from map to map as well. So getting this opening map be your choice, and then going to the side something like Clubhouse, if you put Cafe away really fast as the side of Zero Risk, that can give you a pretty good advantage going into something that we'd expect the spaceships to be better on, Clubhouse attack. But getting that advantage and having it roll over between maps is not something we really got to explore in the group stage, and I'm very glad we get to see it here now. But I kind of want to zoom in on Clubhouse as a map. We talked about how it's pretty close to 50-50, and I think the stats at the major were pretty close to that. I believe it was 52-53% defender win rate overall. But all of the sites being played to some success, including mining, dining, it definitely this map has evolved a lot for having not changed a whole lot, and it looks like we're going to be able to get into it here. But these operator bans, I think, are going to say a lot, right? We'd expect something like SpaceShoobs. They haven't really showed this to go with those more default-based bans, things like your Thatcher, your Mira. Zero Risk though is the side that I think is more interesting because they've played this map a little bit. They're more comfortable on it, and when you're more comfortable on a map, you typically know a little bit more niche what you want to ban, what actively counters your playstyle. The spaceships, they're going to ban Flores, not Thatcher, which I really like that. This is a great Flores map. So being able
Mhm.
to just remove him from the table makes spots like Pixel upstairs just significantly better, and it helps bolster that defensive setup for upstairs significantly, since typically you'd expect all those shields to just kind of fall, and then you're playing further back, and Zero Risk is going to go ahead and take out the Thatcher.
All right, so Flores and Thatcher off the board. Thatcher, of course, one of those operators who is just constantly banned these days. That does leave all the hard breachers on, so there's all those options. Of course, when it comes to Cafe, it's not quite as focused as hard breaching as some other maps like Oregon, like Clubhouse. Amira is going to be banned out. That leaves our final defensive operator up to the SpaceShoobs. Will it be something like the Valkyrie? Or will they take another operator off the board? Something perhaps we don't see quite as often. I'm interested to see what it's going to be. Will it be the black eye bearing camera lady? It will be. Valkyrie is gone, and now we've got our bans. Heading in, SpaceShoobs do start on that defense. Zero Risk will look to pull that early lead as soon as they can. Typical rotation through the sides can really change a lot on this map, but Bar Cocktail makes sense, maybe down to kitchen and then upstairs to that first floor or that second floor. This map always throws me off with no basement. That second floor side of reading and dining. However, reading and feeding has been a little bit more of a popular site due to some teams liking to defend upstairs and fall back. Some teams have found more success that way, but usually a pretty clear cut rotation onto these sites.
Yeah, reading's kind of grown in popularity with what I like to call the more fluid style of defense. It's what you'd expect out of a map like Border. You're holding ground and then you fall back. You're very fluid in your motion. You accept the punch and you give up a little bit of space. So if either of these teams are comfortable on a map like Border, you could expect that mid floor site to be a little bit better for them just stylistically, but not too much out of the ordinary coming out here for round one. Excuse me. SpaceShoobs choosing to start up here. Doesn't look like we're going to see anything crazy out of the ordinary just from the operators. That pixel shield that we talked about with the Flores being banned for coming out. Uh, and just a pretty, you should expect to see a pretty normal hold here from at least just the operators. The side of Zero Risk, nothing out of the ordinary. The Finka meta still reigning very much so supreme here with Mr. Alex player repping that. Although that the attacker repick from Yana onto Twitch is definitely something interesting. Twitch doesn't get a whole lot of love typically, but on this map and this site in particular, those Twitch drones can get a whole lot of value towards like the ADSs on Pixel. And so it's good to see that operator get some representation.
Always nice to see how teams are able to adapt their attacking strategies with the access to the attacker repick. So looking over the SpaceShoobs lineup, we're actually missing Kazadi, which is so unfortunate. He's a big member, unless he's renamed himself, and I just haven't noticed. But I did see in his chat that I think he might have sprained his wrist or something. So unfortunate injury there for the SpaceShoobs player. We'll see how they adapt to missing one of their good friends. Mr. Alex player, someone you highlighted, he is a standout player for Zero Risk, someone you've got to keep an eye on playing the Finka. It's a big mantelpiece that you've got to hold on to. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to being the player that operates one of the most important operators in the entire game in this current meta. She has nades, she has health boost, and she has the all-powerful LMG. Right now, we're just seeing a little bit of droning coming in, gating information. Of course, you've got that pixel hold, you've got SpaceShoobs doing what they need to, but a couple of these players lined up. They look ready to go. Monster makes the drop on in to the stairs, finds the opening kill, and Thunder is dead.
That's a great opening pick. Getting rid of that cigar player, especially someone like a mute wielding that shotgun, is very good to do, and especially since they didn't open that cigar castle barricade there. So Thunder could have realistically bought so much more time by just living in that position and getting him out early and following it up with the nade from Mr. Alex player onto that Wamai of all people playing Pixel. This piano-sided hold from SpaceShoobs just completely dismantled in half of the round, and that's some really good positioning and utility usage from Zero Risk coming out to clear these positions, as well as Matumbo finding the third onto Roxo. It just keeps cascading out of control for the SpaceShoobs.
5v1 SpaceShoobs. It's going to be Mock Turtle in a very big clutch situation. I mean, look at the HP of the smoke player. Look at the time and look at the shot for Mr. Alex. It's a flawless round to ring through for Zero Risk as they absolutely waste no time in saying, hello, welcome to Cafe. It's our map and we're here to show you around. SpaceShoobs gonna need a big bounce back from that one. That is a tough way to begin a best of three. That is not what you'd like to see, but you know what? It's all about being able to bounce back. It's getting back on your feet after tough rounds like that, but a flawless to begin gives you a lot of confidence to this attacking roster from Zero Risk. They, if they continue to do that, could make it a very quick Cafe, as you mentioned before, having some great momentum into Clubhouse. SpaceShoobs need to try to stem the blood flow before they keep on doing that. We didn't see any refrags. It was a triple kill for Mr. Alex player. By to give him a little bit of a caster blessing there, who's to say, but a great attacking round is you need to figure out what you can do to make sure that doesn't happen again. Those refrags never came through, and it all started with that drop in. You saw Thunder going down, playing in the cigar area, and well, it just, like you said, cascaded down from there.
It might have been a flawless round, but I actually think that understates how well Zero Risk played that round. I could not ask them to do any bit of what they did better. Clearing out the guy's cigar, using information plus like a little bit of a sneaky drop there, and then using your utility to kill the player Pixel, and then start pinching these players out, applying pressure, forcing them into uncomfortable rotates, and picking them off from windows and skylights. It was just something beautiful to see, and if they can replicate that again here and consistently across this map, the SpaceShoobs might be in a lot of trouble before they're even done with their defensive half here. But that's all speculation. This is round number 2. Mr. Alex Player's got 3 for himself right now, so that's a great start for him. You gave him the blessing, and then Nitro from
Oh!
Thundershoobs says that he's tired of not being on the board. He grabs the first kill for SpaceShoobs and himself in round number 2. And already we're off to a much more exciting start here. And you see these members from Zero Risk having to reposition because of that pick.
Catnip still is going to drop in. He'll look for the refrag, but Thunder is ready. The SMG-11 just rips through him. And now the tables have certainly turned a little bit more. I highlighted Mr. Alex. We've got to highlight Thunder from SpaceShoobs. He is a playmaker. He was a playmaker. As Shadow is able to get the headshot. Unfortunate to see him go, but he did already do his due diligence, picking up a double kill before he leaves this map. So, Spaceship still with the one-man advantage. It's a 4-3. You've got Pixel being held, everything looking good. That Wamai is an absolute nuisance when it comes to clearing that at times. And, well, Zero Risk, they were able to take down one of the big problems. How do they continue to answer that? You've got Shadow looking his way into Pixel. He's hoping to get one of these players just peeking at the wrong angle. It's going to be Money who holds that firm with just 1:20 left on the round.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see Thunder play that position the way that he wanted to in the previous round. It's always good to see the idea shine forth here, and Money getting that idea on Pixel so much better this time. That early nade not being able to clear the spot, and even if he dies here to this LMG
Oh,
spam,
man.
all job already done. Mock Turtle finds another. What a turnaround from the SpaceShoobs here. It is now Mr. Alex Player left alone versus 4 versus the previous round where at this point all of the Shoobs were already dead. Just great to see these adaptations here and the confidence coming out for the boys on the side of the SpaceShoobs to flip 180, a flawless round from Zero Risk to a near flawless round for the Shoobs. Well played to them to keep themselves in it, and we've got ourselves a game.
I'm so glad the SpaceShoobs were able to answer in kind. That goes to show that, you know what? They can adapt and they can bounce back exactly the way they needed to. Zero Risk might have thought it was going to be easy rundown after that first loss round, but SpaceShoobs say no, no, no. Thunder picks up the opening 2 kills, one with the C4, the second with his trusty SMG before he was cut down. You saw Money jump in there on Pixel. Everyone did their job there and it worked out. That was a great, great thing for SpaceShoobs. A lot of times when you see teams go back to the site they just lost, they don't change enough of what they're doing, and they'll just have the exact same situation play through. They'll have the exact same result. So a great job from the Shoobs to be able to change what they needed to get that early kill and just keep it going. The 4-1 down to the 4-0 looked great for them as they'll now go downstairs to Kitchen. This is another site where the defense can have a great time, but you've got to worry about some of the verticality that can happen. There's so many soft floors on Cafe. I wouldn't say it's well, it's close to Villa. It's probably the map that's closest to Villa with how important verticality can be. So I'm excited to see what the SpaceShoobs do here, and if Zero Risk really look to just get them from up top, to just smash all the floorboards, make it uncomfortable. It's exciting though. SpaceShoobs fighting back in a brilliant fashion. Thunder up to 2 kills. Money as well on the double. Mock was able to pick one of his own. It'll be Zero Risk's turn to answer back as they attack onto this bottom floor defense.
I'm really glad you mentioned that verticality on this site in particular, because if you saw the SpaceShip setting up there, the shield out in VIP, I think that was the echo of Lenny out in coat check, plus this setup here, like, they are here to defend the outside of this map here, to try and avoid that very damaging verticality that you talked about here. But with Zero Risk, they don't really care about it. They're already up through Bakery here, only 30 seconds in the round, working their way into this space. They see that the SpaceShubs just kind of gave it to them, and they're here to take it, and that's what you love to see out of a good team. They're willing to, maybe this wasn't their initial plan, but they saw a weakness and they're trying to exploit on top of it. They found that they weren't holding Bakery. Well, let's just get in there. We know they're not there. And we're already seeing
Oh
these walls
boy.
starting to get open up. That prep wall being opened there gives you an extra angle. So now it's been flipped. It's on the SpaceShoobs to apply vertical pressure onto these players, as you see Thunder trying to do a couple of missed shots, but he gets it in the end there. So now this vertical pressure that we talked about, the attackers wanting, the defenders are having and exerting onto Zero Risk.
Great opening kill there from Thunder. Roxo does take a ton of damage. Now, they've opened up that bakery wall, which is good, but it goes to show you that you can get punished by not roam clearing upstairs. And they did go for that direct horizontal push. Mr. Alex does even it out, finishing off the very hurt Roxo, but that's your smoke dead. We did see him use a couple, at least one canister of smoke into prep. I'm not sure if he had any more, but Money takes down Shadow. Back to the 4-3. You've got a lot of players upstairs now. It's a total reverse, right? It'll be interesting to see if Zero Risk decide to rotate some players to try to clear that up. You saw one heading toward the stairs, but Lenny is there inside that closet. He's ready to jump out when the time is correct. There's just over a minute to go. The nade sends in, and the swing is on. That's going to be Lenny dead. Monster will fall quickly to Thunder. Back to the 2-3 in favor of SpaceShoobs.
Yeah, this setup from SpaceShoobs doing very well at being able to flex their positions onto whatever hit came here. They set up for a
Wow.
vertical take, but Money showing you right there that they can easily flip this to counter a bake take. A 1v3 for Mr. Alex player. If there was any player for Zero Risk to do this, it would be him. Some intel coming out on the side of Mock Turtle, but he's not good enough. Mock Turtle wins the round. That's now 2-1 lead for the side of SpaceShoobs. We came into this map questioning if SpaceShoobs were ready. They hadn't played this map pretty much at all throughout the entire Xenon gaming series, but it looks like they've been cooking this in the back pocket for a while because they look pretty good so far.
Incredible they were able to cook so much with how many players were not in the kitchen. I mean, what a phenomenal hold. They didn't see any roam clear at all. I mean, it was pretty much just on that first floor Zero Risk was attacking into. SpaceShoobs took 1000% control of that. You saw the opening kill from Thunder. It was Money playing upstairs as well, and Zero Risk unfortunately just got shut down by the pickoffs. There were just too many ready to go. And you saw that great trade. I think it was Lenny who was killed in as the push came through by Shadow, but there was that immediate refrag from Thunder to avenge his teammate. That's what you like to see from a defense, or really any team, is being able to pick up those trades immediately. That's really what can turn your team into a scary force. Being able to say, all right, you took one of my players, I'm going to take one back immediately, keeps the playing field level. You're not playing with a man down. You're not allowing the other team to just impound and compound on that to where you're not down one man, you're down two man. And you've seen how quickly that can happen, how quickly that just goes crazy. It's a little exponential because the more players they have alive, the less and the less you have, the less angles you can watch, and the more they can. It just becomes such a difficult place to fight out of. So great job from SpaceShoobs to just keep it even as much as they can. Zero Risk, I'm looking for them to do that here. Round one, the one they won, it was a flawless round. It was a 5-0 on that man count. They really haven't had the chance to battle back too much, and the chances they have, SpaceShoobs did not allow them. So look for Zero Risk here to get those refrags a little bit more commonly and maybe a little bit quicker as well. You'll see Matt looking up to the back, but there's Monster with the opening kill. Thunder doesn't last long playing as that Wamai.
Yeah, this is the third site, the traditional tertiary. We're seeing it round 4 because Zero Risk run that opening round. So this is the round where SpaceShoobs need to separate themselves and say, hey, we're here to play. This is our map too. And with I don't know who that was, but sneaking past Money there into that mining space. Definitely some interesting play here going on with a direct site take coming out
Oh
within a first
gosh.
minute. Mock Turtle gets one, but Mr. Alex player trades him back, gets down from the verticality there, but Matumbo finds one as well. We're in a 3v2 situation, only a minute into the round, and the players on Zero Risk have more of the site than the side of SpaceShoobs. Plant being attempted now from Shadow. He's trying to plant, I believe, deep in reading there on that fallen bookcase. These players upstairs have to find some form of value from their verticality here, but maybe they just don't know it as well as they did Kitchit, and they don't find it. With now 40 seconds left on the clock, a retake has to be had here for the side of SpaceShoobs. The drone hold could give one player away, but it doesn't quite use it there. Monster finds two for him on the round, making it a 3v1. Roxo gets one with the shotgun, has about 20 seconds left to play with before he has to be on that diffuser. Not a lot of time here. He's got to make his move, choosing to go around through reading door. Player up close
Dang,
gets
dude.
caught. Roxo 1v1 now. 15 seconds on the clock. Switches to the shotgun. Player up close could be
Stop.
found, and he
Stop.
didn't get him. The
No!
shotgun not good enough. Not enough players exposed. Not enough the player exposed. Pellets not landing. What a close way to end it. But Zero Risk off of a rush play through Heldor make round 4 work.
Great job on that execution, man. It's not often you see those rushes actually get pulled off, but you're right, the SpaceShoobs didn't have too many people on site, and the people they did have on site were quickly executed by Zero Risk. Came down to that 1v2. A great try with the shotgun. Almost had it, dude. Oh, those pellets just couldn't attach enough, and well, Zero Risk will tie the score back to 2-2. Now, on a map that is a little bit more even, you'd expect to see a 3-3. That's no big deal. So this is going to be interesting, right? Does one team pull ahead? Do they rack up a couple more rounds? Because if any of these teams want to get a 4-2 half, they'll have to win these next two sequentially. So heading back upstairs to Bar, this is where we saw the first round, the flawless round, and then a great answer from SpaceShoobs on round number 2. There's a lot of questions still to be said in this era. It's a little bit of a best of 3 on this site, right? Who wins this one, as we've seen it 1-1 in a certain sense. SpaceShoobs though, looking at them right now, they're pretty well spread across the board. Lenny hasn't been able to open up quite so yet. It's a little unfortunate, but most of them at the 3-4 kill mark. Not too terrible. With Zero Risk, you do have players like Monster, Mr. Alex stepping up and doing a lot of work. Shadow, Matt, both at 2 kills. But as we know, this game is not all about the frags. It's more about doing your job. And hey, kills certainly can help your job be easier, especially when you've got a big, scary team up against you. Now, we do see the Amaru coming through for Mr. Alex Player. I'm interested to see how this plays out. Will we see them springing right onto a balcony, just going ham? But I don't know. I'm excited, though. We've got the Ying as well. There's a lot of interesting operators coming out to play.
Yeah, this is the round where we get to see the very interesting dichotomy of R6 actually show itself. The defense won this round, and the attack won this round. I mean, the attack won, the defense changed it. They adapted how they were playing, and now it's the attacker's time to do that. And Catnip finding the opening one onto Thunder, knowing and reading into where Thunder was playing this position out of, and being able to catch him as he tries to rotate back into that Psycho spot. That's a very well-read play by Zero Risk there. Understanding what your opponent's trying to do, having experienced it, and just playing around it here. You can see these drones trying to catch out Roxo as well. Obviously, or very clearly to me at least, Zero Risk sees something about the way SpaceShoobs are holding this that they think they can counter there. Maybe an accidental repel in there from Monster as he immediately vaults back outside to get on a different window repel. But he's all good. Nothing punished there. And a minute and a half into the round, we're in a 5v4. The defense is a little bad losing Thunder that early, and especially with how good Thunder can be. But it's not all doom and gloom just yet. They have enough space here. The Amaru play is what we've really got to look out for here too, because you got to feel like with where Mr. Alex Player is staying, that Amaru is going to be coming in heaven window sometime soon to just force space here for the attackers.
Just under a minute and 15 to go. You've got Roxo making sure no Yana drones get too much information, playing right on that heaven. There it is. Mr. Alex bursts through the window, takes out Rox. He's into the site, finds another as Letty will fall. It's all of a sudden a 5v2. The plant being attempted by the Ying. This does not look good for the SpaceShoobs. Mock Turtle and Money gonna have to do one heck of a retake here, and it won't be Money doing much. It's a 5-1, looking at another potential flawless round going to Zero Risk, and there it is. Bar Cocktail just seems to be Zero Risk's home, as they'll find another excellent round, and this one entirely different from round 1. It was a phenomenal job to get those early picks, taking down Thunder, and then using that Amaru right onto heaven, taking down a couple of players in Mr. Alex's eyes, and then getting that plant down as well. Couldn't have asked for Clear to execute when it came down to it. SpaceShoobs just not able to answer, and they won't risk going back there. They're saying, all right, we've got kitchen open. That was a great site for us. Let's go down there and make sure that this is a 3-3 half.
I'm glad you said it. The way Zero Risk went about winning that flawless round versus the first one they had, completely different. The first one, it was defined by those early picks and early aggressive pressure coming out from Zero Risk, just hitting all of those pressure points on the side of SpaceShoob. This time is a lot more calculated, a lot slower, reading into what the setup is, playing around Thunder's positioning there, Amaroing in heaven as we start getting ready for this execute, and then spamming flashes out so the last two players can't hear the plant going down. Just all around a very very well thought out and adapted attack against the spaceships, and that's the kind of siege you love to see. And I'd love to see it translated onto this site as well. We saw Zero Risk try and find a hole in the setup of spaceships, and you see spaceships kind of patching that hole right here on the left side of your screen there. They gave up bakery super early. This time looks like a shield's going down somewhere near that space to try and help them out a little bit, plus a reinforcement there. So the spaces here are going to be contested a little bit harder for them, so that's their adaptation. But I want to see Zero Risk's adaptation to how well the spaceships leveraged this vertical control against them as they tried coming in through bakery. So maybe getting some players up there, but with the lack of a sledge and any breaching charges on the side of Zero Risk, you gotta feel like they're gonna go for that bakery hit again.
That's what it's looking like. You've got all signs pointing to such. Roxo is playing inside of Bakery, and just look at all the outlines. Look at all the blue outlines that are just encroaching on this poor Smoke player. Roxo's done pretty well for themselves. They've been able to find a couple of influential kills, still hoping to do more and more for the team. That's always the idea of picking up as much as you can. Utility being tossed in, a couple throwables going, ready to take down that shield, and it will fall. Another followed up, and the Smoke has rotated back into prep, back into kitchen. Mr. Alex takes quite a bit of damage, potentially from the Smoke, as he's ready to go as well. A couple of holes opened up from Roxo, potentially preparing an option for his good teammate to just rain down fire. And this is where we saw Thunder get that opening kill back on the last round we were on here on Kitchen. Doesn't look like they're going to fall for the exact same trap this time. In fact, they're ready to open up now. Here it is. You do have the Maverick getting that, and now the exothermic charge explodes onto the bakery wall. It's all opened up with 1:45 in the clock.
Yeah, very well played by Roxa there. I thought he was dead behind that bakery counter when we saw all of those nades coming out there, but being able to skirt danger there and live is very well played to him. And now we're going to have to see how Zero Risk handles this vertical pressure that you saw spaceships opening up. Thunder punching those holes as well as Roxo shotgunning some out. So the same vertical holes being leveraged here, and Capnet found a gap. He managed to get himself all the way through here undetected, very deep into sight, as Matumbo kills the Echo of Lenny as well. Those are two huge picks, as well as the cams being hacked as well, so those Echo Cams going to be working against the spaceships here. Money on this vertical gets some tagging done as Mock Turtle takes out Mr. Alex player and Capnet. So that player that was deep in the site got found out and called out at the end. Another player found coming into site, but Money just off the mark a little bit. Tags up Shadow, and he's finished off by Mock Turtle. Thunder finds another one for himself, and from a great start for Zero Risk into an abysmal ending, this gets another one there. So it's not over yet. I spoke a little bit too soon. Monster working around Whiskey Double Door finds another one onto Rock, so it's a 1v2 winnable situation with 150 bullets in the drum, but Money finds the last one, and the spaceships do close it out there. It was a great catch by the spaceships to find that player who lurked all the way through sight, and a great collapse on the Zero Risk. They took a little bit longer than I thought to close out the round, but a 3-3 half we will get, and some great siege to go along with it.
Ooh, this is what we wanted to see out of these two teams. Right now, it's looking absolutely dead. Even ThunderShoobs says he's a potato today. Ooh, oh no, the Thunder. Gotta be on it, man. Thunder's such an influential player for the SpaceShoobs. But someone else, Lenny, hasn't been playing all too well so far. Just the first 6 rounds of this map. Of course, in a best of 3, there's plenty of time to wake up. But I've definitely seen Lenny just throw down some crazy, crazy clips of his own. It'll be interesting to see how it all continues to play. Right now, the sides are switching. It'll be Zero Risk taking their first defense as we go for the 4th time to Bar Cocktail. It's been a very popular site and a very highly contested site. Right now, it does stand in favor of Zero Risk. They've been able to get 2 flawless rounds on it, but it wasn't too far off of a flawless for SpaceShoobs themselves. I'm excited to see as we go back here. It is one of those sites that is so popular and very, very, I'd say, held the same way. You see almost always the defense hold on to that pixel. You've got a very, very similar setup. For most teams, does Zero Risk bring out something different? Will they have a different idea? You do see the alibi with that shield, most likely going to place it right there onto Pixel and just hold it out as long as they can. The Wamai will be sitting there as well. A lot of these operators just meant to delay the push and make sure that any utility thrown in by the attacking team gets wasted away, as well as the time, because, well, there's nowhere to fall back to on an upstairs site. There's no way you can really roam further up, so downstairs might be where you see some of these defenders head, just hoping to waste as much time and lives from SpaceShoobs.
The setup here from Zero Risk is definitely very similar to what we saw from SpaceShoobs, but if you look at it a little bit closer, there is some significant difference here, especially with where those castles are being placed. Very different choices here from the side of Zero Risk, not using those castles to get a player like Thunder all the way up into Scar, instead using them to cut some very interesting rotation paths and line of sights that the attackers normally get by default. The one that really interests me to see how it goes is that Freezer one, that first Freezer to bar door got castle barricaded. I'm very curious to see how that impacts the round as we get closer towards the execution stage of the round. Early round here, nothing too exciting happening. We're not seeing some Zero Risk round one nade explosions, fast entry, high energy. But we're just seeing some standard play here. Take it slow, get yourself in the building here, try and see what the setup is. Because this is Zero Risk's first defense, and since these teams are from opposite groups, they've never played each other before. So
Mm.
just kind of getting used to what's going on, and Shadow Arch gets himself very comfortable there with the opening pick onto Lenny. You said he's not been having a great game, and it's going to continue, unfortunately. 0-6 for himself in the first 7 rounds. Not the start you'd want to have, but Thunder, he called himself a potato. Well, he's baking now a little bit more, waking up, heating up, getting himself on the board there for the side of SpaceShoobs. Minute and a half, piano control. It's not a bad spot for the Shoobs.
Yeah, Buddy's getting close to looking down towards those white stairs. Catnip playing on sight as that lovely Wamai. You've got the Commando with the Mozzie. A lot of times you will see the P10 Roni, but I don't blame him with the mag size being so small. Less than an SMG 11. And Shadow does go for a little bit of a swing. He won't be finding anybody. It's money in this battle. Gets a little bit of information. Thunder just about takes the head off of one of the defenders playing inside of Cocktail. And now, with a minute to go, it's going to be all about how can this execute happen. Roxo falls to Catnip. Now the 4-3 in favor of Zero Risk. Money looks to get a nice shot off on Stacks, but no, it's Shadow cutting them down as well. The 4-2 looks a little bit dangerous, but Thunder doesn't give up hope. Catnip is now dead. Mock Turtle picks up onto Shadow, and that 4v2 is quickly turned into a 2v2. There's only 35 seconds left in the round. Mr. Alex and Matt, both very capable players, as Mr. Alex will show off. Mock goes down, and Thunder falls as well to the UMP. A great round from Zero Risk, a hard fight coming through by the guys on SpaceShoobs at round 7 goes to Zero Risk's defense. A great debut to the opposite side.
Yeah, this is a very good play by Mr. Alex player there. Kind of reading the drone game from SpaceShoobs might have been missing a couple of holes. Being able to walk up all the way up bar there and get the first shot onto Mock Turtle and then transition that into the person playing Cigar Shop. I believe that was Thunder there on Finca. Very well played by him to find that pocket and be able to capitalize on it. And I just love seeing the differences in how the sights are held. We saw Zero Risk contest piano significantly less than SpaceShoobs, and instead choosing to take these gunfights in these weird off-angle pockets. And that's just some siege that you love to see. Moving down to kitchen here, we're going to see some more new ops coming out for the defense here. I believe that was Mozzie Vigil, something that SpaceShoobs didn't play, and it definitely hints at a more roam-focused game coming out from them than maybe what the SpaceShoobs showed. And that's very exciting here, and especially we could see a Jackal here. It's something that we don't get to see a whole lot since he's almost always permanently banned. But Jackal coming out here would definitely be something interested to see if the SpaceShoobs say, hey, we want to go for that vertical take.
It would be fun to have a little bit of Jackal coming out, a little Jackal action. Oh man. So right now, we do have Zero Risk with the advantage. They're 4-3. They're doing a good job on their defense. Looking at the top players, you've got Mock Turtle and Thunder of one side. It's been Mr. Alex and Monster doing a majority of the lifting, but I think Zero Risk have a really sound supporting cast for this match right now. You've got Matt, Catnip, and Shadow, who have all been holding their own, and they're looking pretty good here. SpaceShoobs going to try to keep it going on their own accord. You do have that buck, you do have that sledge that points to some of that vertical control that we're talking about over and over again as well. There's quite a few breaching charges in the hands of that Ace and that Zofia. Monster playing inside of Bakery. C4 goes off, but it's Matt dead early to Thunder. There's the opening pick from the Finca. Quickly brings it to the SpaceShoobs man advantage. We'll see if Zero Risk can pull it off. You've got some heavy roams from Catnip here, but drones are getting close. Monster's still in that prep area, just hoping to catch somebody out. But early on, you've got these roam clear happening, and there is another from Thunder. Doesn't slip up onto the Vigil, and in 2 minutes and 10 seconds, we've only got so much time before this attack is going to get ready to make that execute. For the rest of them, defenders on Zero Risk, bringing it as close as you can to an even scoreline or even man count. That's going to be the agenda.
Jackal be damned when you have Thunder entering like that. That early aggression from Matumbo getting punished. not entirely unanswered. Monster grabs one for himself onto Lenny. Not quite sure where that came from. Since he was Sledge, it looks like it was as he was trying to open up the vertical. So I guess it's a good thing that the Roxos also playing Buck, so they can keep going about ripping up this floor to their heart's content. And it's very interesting that we see SpaceShoobs on attack and defense being the team that prioritizes this
Ooh.
vertical control. But when Zero Risk is playing like this from underneath, you almost got to ask, why are you even going for it? And a great nitro kill from Monster there to get another one and even that man count that Thunder built for them early on. But if you look at the players that they've killed, they took out the two players on SpaceShoobs that haven't been having great performances today. You got Mr. Alex and Monster still up for Zero Risk, so with all of these high impact players still left in the round, you've got to have a feeling that something's going to explode, and Thunder agrees with me, grabs a third for himself on the round as he works his way down Brown stairs. Now it's just Monster and Mr. Alex player left in this clutch situation, separated from each other a little bit, trying to hide out from this vertical pressure coming out. And this is kind of hard to do on a site like Kitchen. You see Monster feeling compelled to walk into this hallway into a quad kill for Thunder. He's had himself a monstrous performance. Mr. Alex player drops the diffuser though. So intel now gained. Both sides know where each other's playing around. The concussions come out from Money, forcing Mr. Alex player around the back here into a more defensive position. Only 30 seconds left. The plant going to have to be attempted here soon. Initial spotting for Thunder coming out. He wants this ace. He can feel it brewing inside of him that he can get this. But Mr. Alex player snuck around out here to Whiskey, and if that's an unknown position, it could cause some chaos coming into this last 15 seconds. Thunder retrieves the box, playing around the bomb chassis, going for a plant exposed to Mr. Alex player, and Money doesn't see it. So Mr. Alex player now isolating the 1v1, but Thunder stuck the plant. Plant now secured in a 40-second post-plant situation. Mr. Alex player starting to wrap around Freezer Hall, decides against it. Nade coming out from Thunder, but he's looking the wrong way, changes back, and that's an ace for Thunder. What a great round from him overall. Early entries, transitioning downstairs, just getting the picks that SpaceShoobs need to keep it at an even 4-4 game.
SpaceShoobs never cease to impress with those plays, and it's all Thunder getting it done. Broke the 10K there and just kept going onto the ace. It was a good fight, though. You saw Alex just digging it out as far as he could. Brought it to the 1v1, but unfortunately, the Finka is just able to get it finished up. And now they'll head once again to Kitchen. It's going to be a retry of the site. We did see some great vertical kills coming through from Zero Risk. They were able to just deny both of the vertical players, with Sledge and Buck getting absolutely blown sky high and killed early on. Still, a great job from SpaceShoobs to pull it out. The ace from Thunder, a little OP, this guy, now 12-6. Just incredible what he's doing, but Mr. Alex is not far behind at 11-5. We've got two big top fraggers just showing up from each side, and it's looking like a really good series. I mean, we're already getting close to match point, or excuse me, to overtime on map 1, and with that infinite overtime, I mean, it's all about, are these players going to be able to keep going after a couple maps of this? It's looking like a long game here. There's no doubt about that. Almost confirmed. Is it a 7-5 here if it continues at the very least? But either team still could break away and make it a 7-4. There's a lot of options and a lot of happenings, but with Zero Risk heading back downstairs to the same site, what do they do differently here? How are they going to be able to thwart the scary man Thunder from getting another ace?
Thunder definitely being a force for the side of SpaceShoobs, but there's something I've always said about this game, and it's that the thing you always play like you're scared of is how you play yourself. We saw Zero Risk not playing their kitchen attacks, very heavily focused upstairs, and it makes sense if you see them playing that reverse vertical how well as they did there. The Nitro Cell and that great shot through the beams that Monster pulled off, very impressive stuff, but you see adaptations coming out already with this upstairs roam. They gave Thunder a little bit too much too early, and you see Catnip just playing a different position, a much safer position that allows him to play around the space just better, denying more space, more time here. But
Ooh.
that doesn't matter when Thunder comes off of an ace. That's 6 in a row for him so far, and we're only a minute into this second kitchen defense for Zero Risk.
Absolutely disgusting what Thunder's doing right now. Taking down Catnip, you had that roamer upstairs. You've still got Matt down inside of the kind of trains area in the museum around that, and you've got a couple of drones coming out trying to get as much information as you can. Money ready to drop down a hatch, get it going as he'll come into laundry. It'll be interesting to see if Zero Risk can strike back. You do have a couple of C4s on the board. Alex might have already used his, or it's pre-placed. Either way, you've got at least 3 on, or at least 2 on the board to worry about. Mr. Alex playing by those stairs. You've got Matt getting droned out inside of Train, but he's taking down Roxo. Takes quite a bit of damage for his own self, but it's Thunder getting the frag. He'll go very low in HP, but as we know, the Finka able to just boost up whenever she wants, whenever she feels the need to. And now Mr. Alex on the stairs, not going to be noticed as, oh my goodness, Money runs right into that one with 60 seconds left on the board. It's still a 3v3, but you've got Thunder up, who has been unstoppable, and he'll look for more. It's a triple kill from Thunder. This man is built different.
8 kills in a row for Thunder. He's on par to get back-to-back aces here, but these kitchen rounds have been so back and forth overall, except for Thunder. He's been all ignition all the time, but these rounds are playing so I get something, you get something else. This space for players, these drones for space, and then Mr. Alex players on white stairs. These rounds are so very exciting, but Shadow Arch playing this 2v3 situation a little bit differently to how Zero Risk played it before, got himself out to coat check here. That's not a spot that they were leveraging in the previous round, and it might be something that Thunder's not expecting. There's only 15 seconds left here, so Mock Turtle gonna have to start working his way towards the plant here, and Monster's there to catch it. That's box drop, 10 seconds left. Lenny wins the vertical, and Thunder finds another one for himself. 9 kills in 2 rounds. Thunder just looks unstoppable right now.
That's ridiculous. Like, from a ace to a 4K, I mean, just dominance right now from Thunder. He is absolutely going insane with that Finka LMG. My goodness. Got a breadstick. Lenny's on the board. Let's go, Lenny. Getting it done, but SpaceShoobs, they're getting it done in their own right. They're starting to pull off a little bit closer to that big match point in their favor. Zero Risk need to have a good answer, and as they go back to Bar Cocktail, this is where they very well could have one. They were able to win this back on round 7, their first defensive debut of the map, and they're going to look to repeat that. But you've got a lot of momentum just building up, and Thunder alone shutting them down early, preferably, would be a great answer from Zero Risk. I'm interested to see what the SpaceShoobs do as we prepare to jump on in. It's been a great showing as both teams know what they're doing and, well, again, getting very close to that back and forth that could get us to an OT.
OT definitely looking like it's in the cards here, at least the 7-5. Zero Risk won the site so convincingly previously. They have changed it up a little bit. They didn't bring the Aruni last time, and Aruni coming out, you gotta feel like they've got something here that they're changing up at least a little bit to make things a little bit more exciting and unpredictable for the SpaceShoobs. But it's gonna come down to if they're able to win another site past this one. If they lose this here, they're in a dire spot come these next rounds because they have to win the next round on match point and a site that they haven't won yet. So this round definitely being a must-win for Zero Risk if they want to keep themselves with a good chance of winning this game. It's definitely something they can do in that they've shown they're the masters of bar here. You have to be 21 to enter, and if you're not, they'll nitro you to sky high.
So true. You got Matt playing on that Jaeger again. Mr. Alex up to 12 kills of his own, but Thunder has just been such a lethal opponent to go up against right now. You've got Mock Turtle supporting quite nicely, but as Thunder has that LMG in hand, has that 1.5 sight, you've got to beware. You've got to be scared a little bit of what he can do, and he'll be playing on Skylight, just about spots off his opening kill, but the player will duck away just in time. Looking onto New Balk now, he'll try to find those pings off. We'll see what kind of attack SpaceShoobs will go for. Normally, you'll see that drop in heading into the Cigar Lounge and trying to pressure Pixel, getting your moves on that way. You do have a couple players on the roam. The Mute downstairs, working around the white area. Shadow playing down as well. Letty gets the drop on with Thunder. They're ready to make their moves. It's Money here, as well as the Gone, helping to get any of that utility spread away. SpaceShoobs, they're preparing for their attack.
Yeah, these positions from Zero Risk are a little bit different here too, so SpaceShoobs don't really know what the setup looks like, even having played against it just a few rounds prior. The Rooney stepping up into Bathroom here is definitely a switch up that I really like. They gave Piano over very easily in the previous round that they were up here, contested a little bit harder. Change up little things without sacrificing too much of your core identity to the setup. It's a very great siege to see coming out of them, and it's going to be interesting to see what Shadow Arch can do against that 100-round mag of Thunder's LMG, but he's going more so towards this Heaven side. Some Nomad charges here being placed on the flank. There's only a minute left, and not much has happened in this round from either side. Just some leveraging of space, some posturing, some drones going out. You see most of the drones still arrive for SpaceShoobs. They have 9 drones left coming into the last minute here as Thunder finds his 10th kill in a row onto
Jeez,
Matumbo.
Thunder.
Just contesting this bathroom space with only a minute to go. The side of SpaceShoobs, they don't have much to work with here. They're going to have to make their utilities sing for them if they want to find success in this round.
There's only 45 to go, and well, they did pick the opening, and there's a lot of guys ready to jump in. You've got Money still downstairs. He'll rotate up to red. Lenny on that nuke battle. It's going to be interesting. With 30 seconds to go, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath as both teams know what's coming. Catnip holds the angle. Will be able to find Money, just lacking. And now the refrag does not quite come out, but it will shortly thereafter. Thunder, Lenny. It'll be Lenny going down to Monster. It's a 3v2. Still in. Well, it's Alex evening it out to the 2v2. The plant is going to be attempted by Mock Turtle. Roxo still alive, but Thunder, the great and powerful Thunder, shut down. And now Mr. Alex and Monster, two of the most capable fraggers on their team. Alex shows why, but Mock Turtle right back onto Monster. Comes down to the 1v1. Mock versus Mr. Alex. Now it is a post plan, but it doesn't even matter. It's the kill, the headshot. An amazing job. Doesn't matter who's up for the SpaceShoobs. They're able to clutch out that 1v1, and it feels a little bad for Mr. Alex, as that's twice now he's been in that situation to win out a round and has had it just slip away from his fingers.
He might not have won the round, but that positioning and that play from Mr. Alex player at the end there to just wrap in a haul that seems kind of random to get behind the players in a 2v2, you gotta love when you see players thinking like that. They're thinking outside of the box and they're thinking like they want to win this game. That's not a play that you make when you think, we've got no chance in this round. They're here to win, and plays like that only being thwarted by some excellent gun skill by Mock Turtle there. Very well played to both teams in that round, and we finally saw Thunder's killing spree end. I believe that was 12 kills in a row before he died.
That's ridiculous.
Something ridiculous indeed, but seeing that other members on SpaceShoobs can step up as well is something good to see. It's not always a one-man show, and you always hope it isn't a one-man show. This bar site repeat here from Zero Risk for potentially their last round on their map choice is definitely something interesting to see come out. They're hoping for an overtime here, and they've got to make it start with the only site they've won on defense, and that was 4 rounds ago. So far right now, these SpaceShoobs are 3-1 on attack. You called them the elite tagging force, and they're proving you right so far.
Such a good squad at getting it done. There's no doubt about it. Thunder very close to breaking 20 kills here, and he might be able to. This could be the final round for SpaceShoobs if they close it out, and what a statement to close out on your opponent's map in a pretty phenomenal 4-in-a-row fashion. So Zero Risk is really going to be looking to shut that down, to stop that, to say, no, you don't get to. You've got Monster doing quite well. Alex, again, has been a consistent fragger. We've started to see the other players fall off just a little bit, and how can you expect them to not fall off when you had those 12 kills in a row going to Thunder? It'll be about getting the momentum back in your favor at this point, and that's difficult to do at match point. 2 rounds in a row need to be won by Zero Risk to force that OT, but Thunder is looking for his opening kill. He's always up here in the skylight, a very, very talented player, there's no doubt about it, but we've seen this site so many times. Bar Cocktail, one of the most common tonight, and if SpaceShoobs can finish it here, they'll be going right into their map pick, their big, deadly home of Clubhouse, and that's not what you want to see for the guys on Zero Risk.
I praised them before in the previous round, and we're seeing it again. Zero Risk is always making these small adaptations to their setup, and it pays dividends. Matumbo playing out here by this piano stage, grabs 2 for himself. They have not shown this yet. Just leaving that wall soft on Minibar to allow Matumbo to play back here and take these long-angle gunfights with the 1.5 on the MP5. That's a good play, man, and it's a good adaptation. It's what you have to do in a situation like this. Get jiggy with it, change something up, and Mr. Alex player gets that nitro from below as well. They're playing this so stylistically differently to how they have previously, and it's definitely caught the SpaceShoobs off guard here, and this is just some good siege from Zero Risk. Mock Turtle finds 1 for himself, so it's not going to be a flawless round for Zero Risk, but with only a minute 10 left on the round and almost no space gained for the SpaceShoobs, you gotta wonder if they have a way back into this round.
Going to be difficult off the back of Mock Turtle and Roxo. He did find one. Matt is very low on HP as well, using those Selma charges to just open up some of these hard walls that remain. But there's so many angles that are watching you. And with under a minute to go, Catnip picks off Roxo. It's a 4v1 for Mock Turtle. It would be an ace of his own, but Mr. Alex says there's just no chance. And now, at this point, there's one round separating Zero Risk from going to overtime or going to Clubhouse and losing their map pick. It's guaranteed to be a 7-5 or overtime now. So, SpaceShoobs, one last chance to just get it closed off. And the good news is, well, bars off the table. They're going to go back down to Kitchen. We saw 2 rounds in a row go to SpaceShoobs. It was off of an ace and a 4K, though. It was off of 9 kills in a row at that point from Thunder. Do things change here as we head back potentially for one last attempt? Zero Risk. They know the stakes and they're going to be playing as hard as they can to make sure that we go a couple rounds deeper into map one.
I'm gonna keep saying it, man. Zero risks operator and positioning adaptations on the defensive side in between rounds here has been phenomenal, and we're seeing another complete tonal shift from them. Kaid, Thorn, and Jaeger. Some ops that they haven't really been bringing for this site, and it says to me that they don't really want to roam that far. And with how Thunder's been performing, sure, he's been quiet the last 2 rounds, but with how he's been performing so far, you gotta feel like that's kind of the right decision here. Don't give him extra space to find you on this entry. Pick your angles, don't let him choose his. And if they can play that here, we might actually see an overtime here. We talked
Oh
about
no.
how these teams were 1 round back and forth just constantly. Oh wow, 1 round back and forth constantly. The only team to win consecutive rounds so far, or I'm sorry, more than 2 consecutive rounds to get a lead has been the SpaceShoobs, but Zero Risk need to show it here, and they've already gotten themselves a free pick on the board with Lenny disconnecting.
Looks like we might have the rehos coming through as yeah, it looks like the SpaceShoobs are falling off. So unfortunately, it won't be a free pick from the guys in favor of Zero Risk, but still, this is an interesting game. I mean, it's been so fun to see how it plays. Zero Risk need this next round. They need to be able to even it out, force that OT. And already, right, we were coming into, I was a little apprehensive. I haven't really seen the Zero Risk. I haven't seen too much of them besides their game against Valence. And it was going to be interesting to see how these two teams from opposite sides of this series, of this league, clash. And so far, I've been very impressed with both of them. Very back and forth, but still, those 3 rounds in a row that you saw SpaceShoobs run away with has put them in such an advantageous position that Zero Risk have been fighting and they're still fighting. They'll be fighting for one last round to bring that to overtime. I don't know, man. They have had some very smart adaptations. Is that enough to get them to OT?
It might be enough to get them to OT here. Infinite overtime, mind you. We do have that on the cards as something we can tap into. Um, but more so, I think this is worrying looking forward. Zero Risk chose defensive start on Clubhouse, and with how the SpaceShips have looked on attack on Cafe, you gotta think that that's gonna be an interesting side to see. But it's not all done yet. There is some stat in here that I actually want to talk about because it's not something we've seen a whole lot in this league, and that's plant prioritization. This map alone, we've seen 4 plants go down, and I believe one attempted and canceled due to other reasons, not like being not dying, just had to get off to help their team. That's 5 attempts being attempted at 11 rounds. That's near 50% of the rounds have a plant has been attempted here, and seeing that kind of focus here definitely shows that both of these teams have something prepared on this map, despite the fact that SpaceShips have not played this map yet in the league. It's great to see that kind of play here, always knowing what the objective is and playing towards that objective is just some good siege to see.
You love to see that. It's reminiscent of how Space Station Gaming will play, or excuse me, Dark Zero. I'm getting all the Canadian gases mixed up, as they are very objective based. They'll play it slowly. They'll try to get that plant down, and it's interesting to see teams do that. Sometimes it is just a frag fest, and oftentimes you can get lost in that. But knowing what you need to do, being able to get the plant down, gives you such an advantage as an attacking team. It just flips the script, right? The defenders now have to be the aggressors, and it can absolutely change the way the round will play out. Getting that plant down, putting the pressure on a phenomenal way to make sure that you can have that advantage of being able to sit back and say, all right, clock's on you. Let's see what you can do. So good job from both teams to do that. But it's been an interesting mix of those frags and that objective based play because we've seen 2 flawless rounds so far. We've seen an ace coming through by Thunder, a 4K from Thunder. I mean, there's been so
3K
many
the round
great
after. He went
plays.
5-4-3.
3K. That's amazing. 5-4-3.
Uh, yeah, it's been some great siege so far. It's a great like stylistic differences too. Like if anyone asks you what makes teams different from each other in R6, this is the game to show them. Just every round, people changing how they have to play it, but holding on to that core identity. We've seen Zero Risk's upstairs holds be idealistically the same with these long angle holds, these weird off angle fights, and SpaceShoobs were like, we're gonna hold piano, we're gonna hold cigar. That's like our hold on this upstairs site. And just seeing these differences, it really excites me going forward more than anything else, because Clubhouse is a map defined by styles. Every team's got something different that they can show. Some teams have multiple different styles that they can show, and it's going to be a good map, but we've got to finish this one first. It's going to be a kitchen defense here for Zero Risk. That's what they showed typically with the rules. If you show the site and the guy disconnects, you have to go back to the same site, same ops, etc. But this kitchen hold is going to be coming out from Zero Risk. I talked about during the round how it looked like with their operators, they weren't going to roam a lot. I'm kind of curious to pick your brain about this, Slay. With how effective spaceships have been acquiring the space, do you think that's a good decision? Do you think maybe they should contest it a little bit? Like, what do you think's going on here?
Well, the big problem is no one was able to contest Thunder when he was on that because when he picked up that ace in that 4K, and the 3K was of course on a different site. That was Kitchen where he was just going insane and he was getting those opening kills. You had the players upstairs in Cigar Lounge; they were getting picked off immediately. They were Thunder fodder in a sense. They just kind of impactless for the guys on Zerix. They weren't wasting time. They weren't getting kills. So honestly, this adaptation does make a lot of sense, but at the same time, you'll be giving up a lot if you decide to turtle in. You won't be able to waste as much time. You won't be able to try to get those kills. But hey, you know what? If it wasn't working anyway, then what's the point? Save your lives, get in there, and see what you can do. Because we did see some really good vertical play with C4s coming from the defensive side of Zero Risk. They've been able to toss those up a couple times. So maybe allowing your players to hold more angles, not take these 1v1s against an insane Finka player. I think it should be a good idea, but in practice, how does it play out? This is the round that is so important for Zero Risk. They want to go up one in this series, and to do so, they need to force OT and then win by 2 in that infinite OT. So there's a lot on board here, and at the same time, the stakes are pretty high for the guys over in SpaceShoobs. They just won those 3 rounds in a row. They got it to match point. They don't want to let this slide away. This is going to be a massive round 12. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah, definitely. We we can have 3 maps of this, man, and I'd be so excited to see all of that. Looks like the game is about ready to get started, so we are going to be getting back in there just a moment towards that final round of regulation here. Everything is on the line for both of these teams. For SpaceShoobs, they're 1 round away from that 1 map lead in this best of 3 series, and for Zero Risk, they have a chance to stay in this game and get themselves their own map win. Remember, this is their pick. In theory, this is the map they're most comfortable on that's not named Bank. So to have this kind of shaky start is definitely interesting to see here. Kitchen coming out, we're going to see those same operators, and it's going to be a very interesting round no matter what the outcome is.
Mm, very, very interesting. Looks like we've messed up a little bit of a setting there. As it's not at all a 6-5 in favor of Zero Risk. It's a 6-5 in favor of SpaceShoobs. So apologies for that. We'll be getting it set right back up. Always unfortunate when you come out of a rehost and there's just a little thing wrong. That is a pretty big thing wrong, right? I mean, that kind of flips the entire script. But still, we'll have it fixed momentarily. Oh boy. So looking forward to the next 2 maps, right? Clubhouse, obviously, we've seen spaceships do insane things on that on series where they don't get to go to their home base of Clubhouse. It doesn't often look quite as well, but when they're there, the elite attacking group is in force, and the elite attacking group is already in force. You've seen what they've done here. Going to Clubhouse is going to be an experience for Zero Risk. I'm excited to see what they can do as we go in there. And honestly, whichever team wins this map, it's going to be such a big, big pointer to see, do we reach that map 3? Do we go to Chalet? Because at this point, I really haven't seen many teams face up to the Shoobs on Clubhouse, especially with them starting on the attack. It's very scary. But if Zero Risk is able to win this out, take us to OT and get it there, Does that burn enough fire out of the guys on SpaceShip? We're in a best of 3, right? It can get a little mentally draining, but this is only map 1. I don't know. I'm really looking at SpaceShoobs saying, guys, feel pretty confident on Clubhouse. It'll be all about does Zero Risk have what it takes to close us out on Cafe, take us to that OT. I'm really excited to see how it goes, but at this point, it's all up in the air, man. I mean, we've seen a couple players on Zero Risk go absolutely insane. Mr. Alex, an amazing player, Monster right up there, being consistent, and still a good supporting cast of being able to get those frags when they need to. For the guys on SpaceShoobs, I feel like most of the time when we're seeing those kills come through, it's been A, Thunder by a large margin, as well as Mock Turtle doing a great job. The rest of them, they've been able to get frags here and there. You've had Lenny at a slow start, but it's been interesting just on that fragging side of things, how these two teams have matched up, not even mentioning the strategies that both teams have employed.
It's very interesting that you bring that up too, because Roxo, I believe, only hovered around 3 or 4 kills before this rehost had to happen there. But all 3 or 4 of those kills happened in one round on the Shoob's reading defense there. And if he had just gotten more of those pellets to land, this game would already be over. That's how close this game has been all the way back in round. I believe it was 4. Could have decided that this game was already over. I've done some digging because I was curious. Zero Risk have played Clubhouse twice, and they're 50-50 on it. In week 4, they played against Storytime, the team that SpaceShoobs have already beaten in these playoffs, and they beat them on Clubhouse as well. They lost to Storytime 7-5. So
Hmm.
it's very interesting there, but they did manage to beat Light on Clubhouse 7-2 as well. So it's not like they're unfamiliar with Clubhouse as a play place, but it's definitely something that we'd expect the Shoobs to thrive in. And so
Mm-hmm.
you kind of feel like this map is almost do or die for something like the side of Zero Risk, and they've got one round to make it do. Um, I don't know how far out we are from getting back into the game, but it shouldn't be too long here. Should be coming up relatively soon for what I'm being told. So hopefully we get to finish up this game pretty soon.
I know it's a little bit of momentum drained out of the guys on both sides, honestly, because we did see the stoppage come through from Zero Risk. They're able to put an end to the 3 round absolute madman train that we had SpaceShoobs on, with Thunder leading the charge. So it'll be interesting right now. SpaceShoobs needing just one final round. The same with Zero Risk, though. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to round 12, the last round of regulation. We're going to kitchen as we need to, right? After that rehost, got to have the same site, same setup, and I think we do. We saw the Kai, the Thorn come out. Those were some of the operators that pointed us more to that turtle strategy. Thunder on the Finca is what you have to look out for, but again, the ace on Mock Turtle has been deadly. Money has been able to do work. Roxo getting stuff done, and Lenny might be able to just about jump in here for this final round. Unfortunately, with the rehost, all the kills are reset. That could be fortunate for some of the players who you were looking at that, feeling a little down on themselves. But either way about it, doesn't matter too much because we could be heading to Clubhouse within this final round. It's all going to be up to Zero Risk defense as we head in to round 12.
Something we haven't actually brought up until since the start of the game. You were right. Money for the side of SpaceShoobs is a substitute. Kazadi hurt his wrist the other day, so SpaceShoobs are playing down a player. I believe Kazadi was typically that smoke main there too, so definitely some roles being shuffled around on SpaceShoobs, and to have a performance like this has gotta feel good. I want to talk about the actual site execution here because it's actually where we've seen the spaceships be lacking. Their entry into this map on this site has been phenomenal, but it's always outside of that freezer area that we're seeing people. I believe it was Monster in both rounds pick up these sneaky picks onto players as they try and enter through that freezer space. So it's definitely going to be an interesting point of focus for this round, just as a spot to look at and see if the spaceships are able to clean that up, or if Zero Risk is able to capitalize on that further using the deployable shield from Catnip. I didn't get quite he hasn't placed it just yet, but getting to see where that shield goes down and what they want to actively be contesting against the spaceships is definitely going to make some interesting choices in this round for where we're actually going to see the hits come out. Ooh.
SpaceShoobs feeling ready to go here. We've got the attackers now coming on in. We do have, again, the Sledge in the Buck. Zero Risk do have a couple of C4s in pocket, just 2, with Monster and Mr. Alex holding on to those. Catnip is playing upstairs though, and he's going to be ready alongside Mr. Alex. So it looks like they've actually got a pretty big roam game happening nonetheless. They're hoping to just cut it down early, and Mr. Alex does finish off poor Roxo with the aforementioned C4. That's a great opening for Zero Risk. They're not wanting to risk going down a map, and well, they're going to do a good job of at least picking one off the board. Thunder prepares for his entry. He's a little bit nervous of jumping down, but will spot one player. The Thorn Trap goes off, takes him very low, and Matt cuts down the big name of Thunder.
And this setup from Zero Risk, ripping open that minibar wall and playing in piano, has just given SpaceShoobs such a headache. I believe this is 2 rounds in a row now we've seen this setup come out from them, just to great success. Denying SpaceShoobs that red landing appears to be their weakness here. You see Lenny and Mockturtle rotating around to Bakery. Given those 2 picks, the powerhouse of Thunder and that soft breach of Roxo, they just want to completely flip the script here and rotate completely around towards this Bakery side of the map. Something we didn't touch on because I didn't see it till just now. Catnip playing Thorn. That's a shotgun on the Thorn, giving it extra destruction upstairs, letting you make the vertical holes that we saw the SpaceShoobs play in the previous couple of rounds. So this is going to be a completely different style of execute that we see coming out from SpaceShoobs. And you can see that they kind of didn't know this was here. They have electricity on the wall they've never encountered before in this game. They have a guy playing prone and rice window, throwing nitros at them from prep hall. They haven't seen this before, so this is going to be a new round for them, and they've got to take the time here. They've got 1 minute left to put the pieces together and find the way to put the box on the ground.
Oh, well, Money's going to get us started off. A nice catch onto Catnip. The LMGE rings out, and Cat falls, evening it a little bit more. That's the Thorn off the board. Of course, all of her utility previously put down. Those traps can be deadly when usually combined with another operator that'll slow you down to walking speed or lower. A lot of angles being held here as one looks to the red stairs. There's only 30 seconds left on the board, though. Lenny makes an entry into prep room. He's ready to find some of that verticality. And at this point, the 3v5 or 3v4 doesn't look too good. Time running down so quickly, but Mock evens it out to the 3-3. The nade is tossed up, hoping to dislodge the defender upstairs, but we're going to have to see an execute, and we're going to have to see one very, very quickly. Lenny swings in, but he's cut down by Mr. Alex. There's a nice kill for Mock to bring it back to the 2v2, but there's just no time. Alex brings it to the 2v1, and Mock Turtle won't be able to catch Matt. And there it is. Round 12 is over, and we're headed into OT. At least 2 more rounds. After that, who's to say when Cafe could be over?
Yeah, it's very interesting too because Zero Risk have looked unstoppable in these last 2 rounds, just being able to shut down that entry from SpaceShoobs to such a point that they're bailing on their entire hit to try and make something work from Bakery. Given that though, Mock Turtle, very strong player. You talked about him as being that B to Thunder's A, and he definitely made it to bring himself up to a B plus in that round. Just finding some incredible shots onto the side of Zero Risk to at least make it look close there. But man, Zero Risk's defenses have just been taken up a notch. They got put up against the wall, and they were not willing to die here just yet. We're gonna see another bar hold come out for, I believe, the 6th or 7th time this game. You've got to feel like we're up here too often. And it's going to be interesting to see which one of their setups Zero Risk is going to employ. You've got to think it's going to be the one that brought them so much success, this piano hold. But with where the mute's putting those mute jammers, they could be holding Cigar here as well. Just always having something different in their pocket, and that's why you've got to love the people on Zero Risk.
They've got so many options when it comes to their defenses. It's been very fun to watch, and it's been netting them enough rounds to take us to OT. So a good job. It was a 3-3 split from both sides of the coin, as Zero Risk was able to just shut down the aggression from SpaceShoobs. You saw all those kills come from Thunder, but all those kills don't mean much anymore as we're reset a little bit into this overtime. What happened in the past no longer matters. It's all about these next couple of rounds. Getting yourself 2 in a row confirms the win, and we'll be going into Clubhouse. Of course, it's about getting there. Will it be a back and forth jump? It's going to be interesting, though, because this isn't really an attacker or defender sided map. We've seen 3-3s, so who's to say which side will truly have that advantage? We're not looking at a team to lose the defense and then be, oh no, now they're in a bad position. It'll be more about a round-to-round basis. Mr. Alex has a C4 out, and he'll be chucking it up the new barrel catch, not finding anybody as, last time they took down Rock, so he'll be happy to have escaped that. Just under 2 minutes and 15 seconds remain as no opening kills have happened, but a little bit of utility and a little bit of drop. And there's Thunder immediately dead on red stairs. Matt is ready and waiting as there's 2 minutes left in this round.
Combo is just too good contesting that red hatch. Every space around it, Thunder just keeps dying mid-air there, trying to find his footing in the space. At least this time his team's able to get in and start working towards this piano hold. You see Zero Risk once again not really playing in piano. They're going to give it up, but instead they're going to hold everything around it to the point that holding piano for the attack doesn't feel that great. You're never truly comfortable here, and even when you've got 125 rounds left in your magazine, Shadow Arch only needs 15. A swing in from Roxo seems like a play of desperation as he loses almost all of his health from landing onto that piano stage. They've got to find something here to work with them. Half the round gone, and half of their players gone as well. That's another for Catnip. Zero Risk just being so well put together on these last defensive rounds. Mock Turtle once again in a 1v5, but this time he gets one down to make it not flawless. It's a 1v3 situation now with Shadow Arch not being able to be picked up in this spot, but he's got to find these players and he can't find them just yet. That is match point for Zero Risk or more infinite overtime to come here. Well played to them. Their defenses are just so good.
Thunder is going to call the timeout. So a little bit of a chance for the Shoobs to talk about what they need to do and any changes they need to make. As Zero Risk has certainly been able to come alive at this rate. They've matched the 3 rounds in a row that we saw SpaceShoobs take from 8 to 10. They've gotten 11, 12, and 13 now. You mentioned it. They've got to win this round, or we'll be forced to see at least 16 rounds play out. It'll be an 8-6 or more considering how things go. SpaceShoobs on the defense are ready to strike back. Looking at how they did, Bar would not be the advisable place, and they won't go there. It's going to be Kitchen. We saw so many flawless rounds come out on Bar by Zero Risk and near flawless. In fact, Bar's been a very highly contested site, although it seems like it's usually won out a little bit more by Zero Risk. So going downstairs to Kitchen, I'm excited to see how this goes. Both times they were on the defense and they went to Kitchen, they were able to win it out. We saw Bar 3 times and Kitchen twice on their initial defensive half. So this should be a great site for them to go to. We really saw SpaceShoobs take advantage of the vertical pressure that the defense can control. And old Zero Risk, they kind of ran into that the first time. The second time, a great turnaround of the round as SpaceShoobs just don't let it go. This will be potentially the final round of the map. But Zero Risk, they look confident and they're hoping to take it and just keep it and make us go to Clubhouse 1-0 in their favor. SpaceShoobs will look to extend it a little bit further.
I'm really glad you brought up how many times we've seen Bar. We just played 13 rounds. 7 of them have been on the Bar site. 7 out of 13. And of those 7, Zero Risk won 5 times. 5 of their 7 round wins have been on Bar. It makes so much sense here to not take them back there. And especially with how good the SpaceShoobs have just been on Kitchen overall. It's their version of Bar for Zero Risk, if you will, winning about 70% of the times this site has showed up. So just being able to get this site to work for them is going to be pivotal here, and even more so going forward, because when we get into this extra overtime rounds, you're going to see that these sites are still getting locked, despite the fact that they just played it, and we're in an overtime situation here. So Zero Risk is going to have to win on something other than Bar if SpaceShoobs can win this Kitchen hold that they've been so lethal on here. We see a little bit of a different setup here coming out of Zero Risk. I say different in it's just one operator. They've got a sledge this time, so the option is there for them to attack into this upstairs hold, and with Thunder kind of falling silent these last couple of rounds, maybe they can make this work and leverage that vertical pressure on the site that the SpaceShoobs were trying to do to them.
Oh boy, it'll be interesting. They do have the sledge, of course. He's such a default operator for so many attacking lineups. He's so important. Thunder is on the Rooney with the EBR playing upstairs in that cigar lounge. You've got Monster breaking on in. The sound cue gives off his location, of course, and you had a player look toward where he's coming in from. Drone work goes through. It's all the very basic beginnings to any round of Siege. Getting the information ever so important as you just want to be able to have as good as an advantage as you can. Mock Turtle gets a nice one. And no, it's Mr. Alex leaving the game. That puts it into a 5v3. Catnip with the F. I don't know if we can call a rehouse at this point as we're already a good fat chunk into the round. Monster dead. Catnip Shadow and Matt gonna have to fight this one out if they want to go to Clubhouse right now.
And Zero Risk ignoring this upstairs play has just not been working out so far. Mock Turtle finds a great pick for himself, but this rotation from Money is what I'm more so interested in. Immediately being in a position to help his teammate of Mock Turtle here, giving him less to worry about and allowing him to take that gunfight and downing him as well. He does back into the window there. Money grabs one, traded out by Mutombo. So a 2v4 situation here coming out for Zero Risk and a minute and a half here to work with. They've got the time to make this happen if they can slow down the round and find where these last couple of players are coming out from. This rotate and freezer wall, not something that Zero Risk might be comfortable around since they didn't show it themselves, but they've got the time to figure out what's going on. They know this player is on white, but Thunder has managed to find his way down brown stairs as well, just lurking around these areas, making sure that they can trade each other out.
EBR versus EBR action as we still have Matt up. The man's 5-0 post rehost, so pretty good showing for Matt. He wasn't one of the star fraggers from the early games, but before the rehost, but he's certainly showing just what he can do here. Thunder hasn't been able to find much success yet, but it'll be interesting to see if they can close it out in the 4v2. They've got the man advantage by far, and now the time is ticking down. Zero Risk, they don't have a lot to play with. Matt's going to make the swing, checking into the coat area, and you have Shadow over on the bakery wall. He's going to try to potentially open up prep, maybe open up whatever he can, because you kind of have to plan for an execute with just 35 on the clock.
Yeah, Lenny living this time in coat check, not something that was happening before. Just getting himself up into that cheeky spot and vaulted up on the box there, so Mutombo can't quite actually see him there. And getting some tags off on the Shadow Arch, finished off by Thunder. It's now a 1v3, but Thunder goes down as well. Mutombo makes this a winnable 1v2, but the clock is working against him here. He only has 10 seconds left to find two players or get the box onto the ground. And with Roxo's positioning here, you gotta think it's unlikely. He swings up over the top of the shield as the Aruni gate goes off. That's another overtime. We're going to see at least 16 rounds here, and Zero Risk takes their timeout as now both teams have to show us they're off-site for defense.
Really goes to show how important map 1 is to both of these teams, both of them taking their tactical timeout just one round within each other. So incredibly intriguing to see how this is going to play out. Like you said, we're guaranteed to go to at least 16. We could see more, but as SpaceShoobs go back on the attack, right now the defense has worked out for both sides. And well, heading to reading and feeding, reading fireplace is one of those sites that we really haven't seen. If we go back, we've only seen it once. In fact, this entire map has been consisting entirely of bar and kitchen. So going to reading is going to be interesting. I mentioned it a little bit back in the day when we went there. It is one of those sites where you can play upstairs and then rotate down. You called it the fluid defense. I'm interested to see if Zero Risk are going to pull something like that out. You see the Frost shown. She can be a scary operator as well if you're not expecting her.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting choice from Zero Risk. They didn't go here at all on their regulation defensive half, choosing to instead just go bar and kitchen to a 50% success rate. So I like seeing something different out of them here, right? What you tried just isn't working on kitchen. They didn't win it until that final round to send us to overtime. And Thunder was just an absolute menace on that entry upstairs. Just get off of it. Don't go back up there. It's not been going well for you. Go to this site here, and I like the choice, but they're gonna have to play it in a very interesting manner. They gotta do something here that SpaceShoobs just aren't ready for if they actually want to pick up this round. So they haven't shown anything yet, and having that rotate from reading into pillars is definitely something unique that not every team does, and giving more of those little stylistic things that you do against the side of SpaceShoobs can give you that extra little bit to nudge over the edge. I'm curious to see if SpaceShoobs actually stick this gridlock because they have Nomad earlier. Gridlock doesn't get a whole lot of love, but she is technically part of the LMG gang. She gets sixed off of. We're gonna see a Buck instead. It makes sense, but you hate to see her go.
We gosh, what team was it? It was Mr. Pang. Was it Mr. Pang versus Shoobs? Who was it? It might have no. Gosh, I can't remember. It had to be Mr. Pang playing at some point, but they said that they like the gridlock because you can get gritty with it. So it's always interesting to see what teams play these operators and how it all can pan out. So with her off the board, it's unfortunate, but yeah, like you said, we don't often see the gridlock. The buck can make quite a bit more sense, especially when you figure, hey, you're attacking upstairs, and then you want to break down those floors, make sure the verticality is in your favor. But look at this defense. They are completely up on this floor, on this top floor. They're playing it like it's a bar defense, but as we know, it won't be. I'm a little bit nervous about this hash drop. We've seen how many times Thunder has just been cut down as soon as he drops onto it. Zero Risk have become very wary of how this man likes to play and how dangerous he is, but Matt, on the other side of things, has become a little bit of a fragger on his own right, up to 7 kills. He wasn't able to clutch up the big play there, got down to the 1v2. The time was just running so low. He tried his very best, but now it'll be up to Mock Turtle and the rest of the gang on SpaceShoobs to try to bring this to their map point advantage.
Wow, this is such an interesting setup from Zero Risk, entirely designed around repelling or stopping people from entering the hatches there. As Monster grabs one on someone trying to enter the hatch, make that two as he swings out on the windows here. He's going to swing for a third, but Lenny's just better since the rehost got himself a couple of extra breadsticks to put in the bag. But this is just such an interesting setup from Zero Risk, and it's not something that any team has really been playing so far. Even when I watch this map in like Pro League or my own competitive experience, just choosing to stylistically say we're gonna make our stand on this map under the hatches. We're gonna contest all of these entry points because we know once Thunder gets in the map, he's a scary man, but if you don't let him in, he never really wakes up. We see a Frostmat down come onto Lenny. Normally that would be a downside, but I think he actually gained health from that, so it's a pretty funny interchange to see as money gets dropped to another Frostmat. So that's
Stop.
2 Frostmats value, but that second one has a ton of value there. That's about 100 health removed from an LMG player here, and only 50 seconds left.
Zero Risk are looking so good, and Mock Turtle is able to take down Catnap, so the advantage of men goes to SpaceShoobs, but DHP game just doesn't look great in the time again. Draining very quickly. You've got the LMG holding the long angle. Shadow on White Stairs is waiting inside of sight. You've got Mr. Alex. Oh man, they're gonna have to catch some of these guys lacking a little bit. Mock Turtle, the final operator on SpaceShoobs with any good amount of HP. He's still at full, and with just 15 seconds, it's all about the execute. Money's jumping down. He's ready to go. We need to see these frags come from SpaceShoobs if they want to win this one out. The plant being attempted by Mock Turtle does a swing come through and stop it. It's Mr. Alex to kill Money, and now the 2v2. Mock and Lenny are fighting this one out. Mock with a swing there does find Shadow, and he finds the other. It's all over for this round. It's a great showing from just how good Mock Turtle can be. They'll confirm that they push it to match point this time in their favor. SpaceShoobs, doesn't matter apparently if you take down their top fragger of Thunder. Doesn't matter if you down 2 of their players in those disgusting welcome mats. You've got Mock Turtle up, you've got him at full HP, and he's just going to be swinging you by pillars, taking you down.
I was thinking, what do I want to talk about in this post round? And the first thing that came to my mind was how well Zero Risk played that 2v3 situation, timing the swing onto Roxo to double swing him and confirm that pick was so well done. But Mock Turtle just stole all of the words from me there, man. Getting the plant down, making his way through. He was that entry player on the ace upstairs as well, finding that that pick to get them reading space to even make that position possible. What a round from Mock Turtle, man. It's just something you don't get to see every day, but you love to see it when it does. SpaceShoobs choosing to say, hey, you played reading, but we can do it better. We're going to see reading again, pretty much tripling the amount this site's been picked over the entire game. And we'll see if the SpaceShoobs can make this work for them better this time. We saw last time Zero Risk went for that Hell Rush, plus a little bit of some shenanigans going on upstairs in Cocktail, essentially just executing that site and upstairs pressure at the exact same time, about 30 seconds or 40 seconds into the round. So maybe, just maybe, SpaceShoobs think they're not going to let that happen this time, and that the setup they're playing here can work.
Oh, this is big plays for the guys on SpaceShoobs. If they're able to win this out, they can just end the game here, take them 1-0 to their map pick of Clubhouse. And we mentioned how deadly the SpaceShoobs are on Clubhouse. They love it. Zero Risk. It's a must-win round. They have the fuse. He's made it through this the attacker repick phase. So I'm interested to see a little bit of vertical dominance coming from that fuse player, Shadow. could be able to put down a couple of hockey pucks, make it difficult for SpaceShoobs to feel comfortable on the defense. Mock Turtle takes a ton of damage, and he's cut down early. That's your top fragger and someone who has been incredibly strong the last couple of rounds on the ground, bleeding out. He needs help. He needs your help now. But with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go, I don't know if he's going to be able to get it. Looks like he should be picked up by Money. So Mock Turtle not out of it yet, but he is low on HP.
Yeah, Matumbo finds his way through mining and train very early, but Money calls him on it. What a great read to know that Matumbo's been going for these lurky plays and to force the side of Zero Risk to execute the site more normally. Some nades coming out to Lenny, breaking that setup and dealing a majority of his health away there. But there's a minute down here, and they're just now getting into the building as that's a Fuse LMG iron sights coming out from Shadow. Not something you see every day, as well as that nade from Mr. Alex player. Very well placed to clear that player out of that freezer space there. Just some great siege coming out here from both teams, but that Finka value coming out to top off all of those remaining players on Zero Risk to ensure that they have that health advantage, but not for long as Roxo cuts another player down.
Roxo really stepping it up right when he needs to. The smoke player getting it, but here comes the LMG Shadow. He won't find it. Thunder with the execution onto the Fuse. Look at how these teams are holding upstairs. It's been majority of the battle. It's like we've been attacking into Bar Cocktail, but alas, we're not. We're downstairs. Those Wamai magnets are going to be holding off some of these nades. One will finally go through. Mr. Alex looks down, but he's going to breathe in a little bit of gas with smoke. There's only 60 seconds left on the board. That was a weird camera angle, but Monster aggresses anyway. Roxo shut down the 2v3. Still doable for the guys on Zero Risk, but there's just 50 seconds to get another couple of kills. Again, Mock Turtle Thunder very low in HP. Money now, the last remaining bastion of HP hope. It'll be up to the 40 seconds left to see if Zero Risk extend this overtime.
Play by Roxo, giving them that pick to almost equalize it here, but it's once again the timer acting as that extra defender here, that extra person here for the defenders. Just 30 seconds left, and all of these players from SpaceShoobs found their way back to the first floor, and they're going to play this horizontally. It's just well played until Mock Turtle falls down there. 20 seconds left, and Money has to go big here, and he does! He finds the player, so it's now a 2v1 with Monster trying to plant, gets off of it to try and take the fight with Money, but he can't quite find him, and Thunder finds the last kills. SpaceShoobs win in double overtime, 9-7. What a first game. Someone in the chat mentioned that the SpaceShoobs just always look better after a timeout. After their timeout, there are 3 rounds in a row to close out the game. What a team, what a game, what a map one. We get potentially 2 more games like this.
A 9-7, dude. That's a deep scoreline. That's something we like to see from this infinite OT. Amazing job from both teams, but it's again the SpaceShoobs are able to close it out, winning 3 rounds in a row, not only in regulation but also in overtime. Definitely shows that once the Shoob gets rolling, it's very difficult to stop him. It's almost like they're in space, man. You just push them out there and they just keep going. There's just no gravity against them, it seems, and they'll be moving very successfully into their map pick, of Clubhouse. So Zero Risk, they've entered the danger zone when it comes to the SpaceShoobs territory. It's going to be all about how do they counter those just lethal attacking rounds that they'll be seeing for at least the first 6.
Yeah, we highlighted Thunder in that middle of their Shoob attacking round there, and he was a menace. We highlighted him rightfully so. I think 12-1 in 3 rounds is just an insane stat line to put up there. But post-rehost, having extra players like Mock Turtle being able to step up to the plate there and get your team across the finish line, proving that you're not a one-player team. Well done to them there, and that was just map 1. That was, of course, Zero Risk's pick, so you gotta feel like it's gonna be an interesting Clubhouse. It's do or die for Zero Risk at this point. I can't wait to see Clubhouse, man, but we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break before we go there, so stay tuned because we've got more of that coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Xenon Gaming Series third place match between SpaceShoobs and Zero Risk. We're not wasting any more of your time. We're hopping straight into Clubhouse here. SpaceShoobs did win the first map in a banger 9-7 match on Cafe. Now we get to see SpaceShoobs map pick of Clubhouse here. Zero Risk get the first ban, and what's it gonna be? It's gonna be the Maverick, something a little bit different. Normally you'd expect to see a Thatcher first ban here, but now that weight is on SpaceShoobs. They now get to choose whether or not Thatcher remains alive in this map momentarily here, and they're going to choose not Thatcher.
Ooh.
They're going to ban out the Flores, so Thatcher is available here. Makes a little bit of sense. The SpaceShoobs choosing to start out on the attacking side here. I was not choosing, being told they're starting out here. Zero Risk chose to start defense here. So giving yourself that Thatcher to play around with. Maybe just get an extra couple of rounds here going into the first half. A Mirror ban coming out, not too out of the ordinary. Something you'd expect to see ban on almost every map here unless you're comfortable playing with and against it. Final ban coming up here for Zero Risk. Shouldn't be something too crazy, although I'd love to be surprised here. Give me something weird. No, it's going to be the
Go with
guy,
Kaid.
a couple of standard bans here.
Fairly interesting because Kaid usually is banned out in response to that beautiful Thatcher being banned out because without the Thatcher and with Kaid on the board, those hatches become virtually impossible to destroy. So, SpaceShoobs, they're looking pretty dang set up for their attacking half. We've highlighted them over and over again as being one of these teams that just goes crazy with it when it comes to their attacking halves. And we've seen that in case. If you're just getting here, it was a 9-7 OT battle for SpaceShoobs to win out on Zero Risk map pick of Cafe. A phenomenal job from both teams. And, well, going in now to map number 2. This is SpaceShoobs map. This is where they wanted to go. They know what they can do here. And I'm really looking at Zero Risk and saying, do you guys have what it takes to hang out with the big dogs in space, because SpaceShoobs on Clubhouse attack, one of the most ferocious things I've ever seen. You need to be aware of that. And for Zero Risk, they're feeling maybe a little bit sad after a very tight, very deep OT matchup. Just losing it in those final 3 rounds, all in a row, going to SpaceShoobs. I'm hoping they're able to just rally their troops up, get them going, and potentially take us to a map 3, but a lot of eyes will have to be on SpaceShoobs because we've hyped them so much on this map, on this attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you mentioned that you have to be able to hang with the Shoobs here. You can only describe their attacks in one way, and that's compounding grief. Being beaten down every round is what they've been able to do to teams like Mr. Pang, some of the best in the league. And so being able to withstand that here going to be very important, as well as of note, Kazadi is back in the server, choosing to play with that wrist injury. Maybe he was just out and he figured like he was going to play the entire time. But it's good to see him back in the server. Money had a great performance subbing in for him, but now we get to see the Shoobs at their full force. Interestingly, with Kaid being banned, we're seeing some bandit tricking coming out from Mr. Alex player. Not something you get to experience every day. You don't expect this now. It used to be a staple, and now it's like a treat to see it come out.
Little bit of a trick or treat there. Now we do have Monster playing in Raptors, as Wamai often does. It's interesting that we decided to go here for Zero Risk onto the CCTV because it really is a site that has fallen deeply out of favor, mostly to the tertiary site, even sometimes being out favored by sites like Bar Stage. So very intriguing. If they can win this off, that'd be a phenomenal opening kill. No, McDurtle is just playing with fire, and he won't play much longer. Matt and Monster both find a pick. Monster burning alive, and he goes down. It's a kill beyond the grave, as McDurtle doesn't go down easy. A nice job to take down the Wamai, but still the man advantage securely in Zero Risk possession. As I say that, Lenny picks up his first breadstick of the map and takes it to a 3-3.
Yeah, that execution from SpaceShoobs is just the reason why you see this site not being played too often. The Capitao dies, sure, but that fire completely covers the Rafters area, and Monster had nowhere to go, dying out to that fire. It was a good pickup by Lenny there as well to even out the man count here, and now we reach the harrowing execution phase here for the defense. They have to leverage just 2 smoke canisters, now down to 1, and a singular nitro cell here to try and win this round out. There is a chance that Mr. Alex player has pre-placed it under that default spot. We're not going to find out until a little bit later here. It's just so little space for the defenders to work with, and they have worlds to make. They have to cross worlds and overcome those hurdles to try and make this round work. That's the last smoke canister going out a little bit early there, and Kazadi falls back because of it. This catnip positioning here, though, is pivotal for this round. If that Nitro is able to find 1 or even potentially more, it could signal the end of the round in a Zero Risk round win. The Nitro cell goes out. It should find its mark. There goes Kazadi. 15 seconds left now. The Shoobs are going to have to make something happen, and then he chooses to replant in the exact same spot, trusting this cross from Roxo, but he misses one on the cross, and Lenny goes down while he's planting. It's now a 1v3, and Zero Risk win it off of a quick cross on Monster. Wow, well played to Zero Risk to win that site.
The Bandit being a menace from the tricks to the kills. An amazing job to make sure that it wasn't an easy win. Apparently, CCTV can still be well defended by Zero Risk, and that's something we need to talk about as well. Zero Risk on their defense of Cafe had some really intriguing different sites and different setups that they'd pull out. They had, it seemed like, many strategies for a single site, and they'd be pulling them out left, right, and center. So I'm excited to see what they can do here, and starting off on the board with a 1-0, pretty dang good, especially on a site that a lot of people consider to be one of the weaker of the 3 rotationable sites that we often see on this map. Heading to Gym Bedroom, usually the site that we go to in favor of CC. It's easy to extend outwards to get some cash control, to make sure the attackers have to march through the entire side of the map and get there, but I'm excited for SpaceShoobs to try to bounce back. They had a little bit of a tough opening. We saw those initial 2 kills going in onto them. Zero Risk picked those up. The asphyxiating bolt was able to kill out the Wamai player, but still, Zero Risk prevailed. Matt takes a ton of damage. Might have been from his own impact or maybe a shot that's gone awry. But yeah, Matt's going to be sitting a little bit lower. Matt's another player to look out for alongside Mr. Alex. Those two were phenomenal fraggers, and Monster was right there as well. Unfortunately, it seemed like they all came alive at different sections of the map. No, not enough really to pull together the win, even though it was an incredibly close game in overtime.
Yeah, this extension here for the Gym Master site, giving those players you highlighted, Mr. Alex player and Matt, just extra room to try and contest these players on SpaceShoob, and you've seen how lethal they can be. They were dictating the pace of the game when we were on Cafe, and I don't expect them to try and slow that down, especially with how well that first defensive round went for them here. Early round here, SpaceShoobs just contesting for the CC space, trying to get in and break this hold that the Zero Risk have set up here towards this top red, towards this cache side of the map, just to try and get in and establish pressure, leveraging this setup that the defense has set up against the actual site players here. But this is such a hard nut to crack, and you see Matt sneaking away there, but he ends up falling to Mock Turtle as Lenny grabs the opening kill, and all of these players just being pushed back clinically here from the sides of SpaceShoobs.
See how many rounds you can just let out. Thunder finds Monster as well. It's a 5v2 as Mr. Alex and Shadow in a difficult position. Shadow in a difficult position. Lenny spares no time. Lenny's doing quite well early on into this map, already up to the 3K mark. And, well, for Shadow, it's a 1v5 facing down a potential flawless round. He does have those smoke canisters. He does have the SMG-11 and a nice player dropping right into him, but Thunder's quick to clean up. It was a little bit of a bait and switch, perhaps, as there's no doubt about it. It was a very successful attacking round from the SpaceShoobs. They're here, they're ready to go, and we've got a 1-1 game already. We saw how close Cafe was. Do we see another deep OT matchup between these two teams before we potentially head to another map, which is Chalet, if we get there?
Yeah, I would love to see that, man. Just the more siege I can see between these two teams that seem very closely matched would just be ideal. But it's just weird to me, man. Gym is supposed to be the better site in the current state of Clubhouse, and SpaceShoobs didn't look phased at all by that setup. They just understood what was going on, able to even find those frost mats. That's not something normal you find in rafters on a gym hold. Being able to find things like that, call it out, and make it work that definitively makes me wonder how they lost the CC site that strongly. I guess Zero Risk just needed those opening picks, and with Matumbo kind of impacting himself in the prep phase there, maybe he didn't feel enough confidence to make that opening pick work here. But you gotta feel like Zero Risk needs that confidence to get those opening picks, to make SpaceShoobs slow down a touch, and to cause more mistakes to come out from their side. We're gonna see a gym site repeat here, a very interesting idea with how powerful Basement is as a site, but they are changing some of their ops up a little bit, which is something I've praised them before on the previous map and will continue to do so. Bandit coming out in place of the Frost, you gotta feel like that's just a better choice here, being able to choose some walls to deny and keep the Shoobs at bay for a little bit longer, giving you that extra time to react to what's going on. It feels like it's gotta be a good decision there.
Frost off the board, but I mean, we saw that one round back on Cafe when they hadn't really shown Frost at all. They pulled her out. SpaceShoobs weren't expecting it and jumped into 2 Frost mats. It was ridiculous. I believe SpaceShoobs still were able to win the round out thanks to Mock Turtle being an absolute legend in that second half of the game. But still, yeah, an unaware player going into a frost mat, you just couldn't ask for a better combination. Mr. Alex is playing out inside of that CC area. A little bit of extension, and he drops Lenny. What an beautiful, beautiful swing there. Gets the opening kill, and Zero Race stand quite pretty. Now, it is going to be Mr. Alex still holding off. You've got that big old wall about to bust open. You've got to be careful. C4 clicked on, doesn't find anything, and now it'll be time for the SpaceShoobs to avenge their fallen sledge, their fallen brother. Time to get back on the board and try to push it in for him. Matt playing inside of Logi, you've got a lot of defensive holds, and you'll see that for the coming minute. You've got a lot of time for the defense to try to waste, and, well, a Zero Risk sit. It'll be up to SpaceShoobs to take any ground they can, forcing that defense back and back into the site.
I said I wanted Zero Risk to get a little bit more aggressive, and we saw Mr. Alex player just playing smart siege there. He understood what the counter to a bandit trick was and was able to navigate it so flawlessly that he got himself a kill as Catnip takes that swing out top red to find a second pick here for Zero Risk. Much better put together round for them so far as they continue into this last minute. And if you look at what SpaceShoobs have actually managed to take on this map so far, it's not a lot. They haven't broken into into this cash bunker yet, and they haven't
Hmm.
gotten past Catnip on top red, who grabs another one for themselves as they're just playing around these rafters. Kazadi finally gets his first kill of the series, having sat out the previous game as Thunder tries to take a duel against the last player in cash here. But with under a minute to go, you gotta feel like they gotta make something work right now.
They are so far away from the side, it's not even funny. Thunder and Kazadi just stuck out. I mean, if they were attacking the CC, it'd be great, but Kazadi says, hey, no, I'm getting some frags right now. Monster Falls, a 3v2, looks a lot better. There is one last boost with that Finka that she can activate after the cooldown is over. That'll bump him up a little bit closer, and it will, to around half HP. Thunder, a formidable player, and Kazadi, there's no doubt about it. This guy has got it going on as well. It'll be up to them to win this out. There's only 20 seconds left in the round, and it doesn't look too great, but they'll push in towards the Logi side. Kazadi's still aiming down with the AK, a phenomenal weapon, but he's cut down, doesn't spot out the player behind him. Thunder will get the refrag, but there's just no time to get all these kills, or is there? The 1v2, does he know where the players are, though? There's one to his left, he'll swing, but it doesn't find him. Shadow gets the kill, and there it is. Zero Risk take the lead. Once again, it's a 2-1 in favor of the defending side of Zero. The SpaceShoobs, we hyped you up a lot. You've only got 3 more rounds to prove what an elite attacking group you are before this half is over.
You know, that early aggression from Zero Risk just seems to be the defining trait of how they win these defensive rounds, even from back on Cafe. Every round win they were getting on Cafe was defined by taking the fight to SpaceShoobs incredibly early on, and they kept that up here in this round. Mr. Alex player finding that very smart kill onto Lenny on CC window early on, just giving them the extra breathing room to leverage their setup without having to worry about an extra piece or making SpaceShoobs second doubt how much utility they've actively brought along after those players fall is just something beautiful to see. And you feel like you gotta see Zero Risk step up to the plate a little bit more and try to take those opening duels like they did on round 1 and 3 there. And if they can continue that here, maybe we do get to see Chalet, or maybe we get another 9-7 infinite overtime map here coming out on the Clubhouse.
Could be the case. I mean, we saw how close it was on Cafe for Zero Risk to pull it out. They had the match point too. They had it. They could have ended it, in round 14. And they just weren't able to. SpaceShoobs, they're good at just wrapping these rounds up together. Once SpaceShoobs is getting on a run, it can be difficult to stop them. Zero Risk, they did have their run of their own, which got them into OT, but SpaceShoobs were able to bounce back and finish it. Now, looking at this map, right now we do have Lenny. He's been doing a pretty good job. Roxo, a little bit slower of a start, but hey, not everybody can be the star fragger all at once. There's going to be ebbs and flows. Still, Zero Risk stand firm and pretty after those first 3 rounds. They took a little bit of a beating back on Jim. It was very close to a flawless, but they've bounced back incredibly well. And now going to CC again, it's intriguing that Zero Risk is avoiding the downstairs side, often seen Church Arsenal as one of the better sites to go to on this map. But they're here and they're doing good. You know what? They're winning the half so far, and if they keep it going, they very well could be in a 4-2 half.
That Bandit just sneaking past the opening made by SpaceShoobs. The wall does get opened. Thatcher and Ace just too good against the Bandit trying to trick out the wall in terms of utility there. It's about a minute into the round, so some good clear coming out for SpaceShoobs. And it's part of what makes the site kind of weaker than something like Basement, is the attackers get so much pressure from outside of the building onto the site that they don't really need space, but contest the space. Monster does anyway. He drops Mock Turtle before he can get those fire bolts off and clear the rafters player this time. So with Monster able to live there longer, it's definitely a better look for them as Shadow Arsh kind of contests the breach a little bit more. And Roxo's down as well. Not a great game from him so far. 0-4-0 as Matumbo swings the door as well. This might not be everyone's preferred site. Some people don't play it at all, but Zero Risk looked damn good on it. That's a 5-1 for Lenny. He's got to find something to make it not a flawless, but he can't get it at all. Mr. Alex player sends Zero Risk up 3-1.
Good grief. Look at Zero Risk right now. They're doing great already to 3-1. Now, this is more of that even map that we come to expect. Right now, this is looking like a classic 4-2 scoreline, potentially a 5-1 scoreline if Zero Risk keep it going on. And now, finally, they're forced to go down. They can't be on the top floor anymore. They've been too good up here. They're going to have to go downstairs, and they will. They'll take us to Church Arsenal. Now, they don't have the Kaid, so those hatches are not going to be safe. With the Thatcher on board, they weren't going to be safe at all anyway. So It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, Hibana is the hatch queen. Roxo is going to show her. Most likely stick with it. I mean, there's no better operator at opening up, no better hard breacher at opening up these hatches. With 3 of them, I mean, you switch that baby to 4, you get those shots out. It's just so great with Hibana and her versatility, being able to choose exactly how many pellets shoot out from 2 to 4 to 6. She's a great operator. One of my favorites, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of hard breachers. Love some Maverick, love some Hibana. So excited to see how the attack with spaceships goes, because obviously they'd like it to go a little bit better. They don't have the chance to have a bad defensive half and come onto the attack and just swing it like they did to Mr. Pang. It's about starting off on the attack here, and after 4 rounds, well, not quite what we've seen and not quite what we've come to expect. Zero Risk doing a great job at shutting down the infamous attacking side of SpaceShoobs. Let's see if they can do it even more.
And I love how Zero Risk is just playing together more. On Cafe, it felt like it was players like Mr. Alex or Matumbo stepping up and just single-handedly winning rounds. But in that previous round, I think it was a team ace. Everyone got 1 kill, just actively helping each other out and playing around each other to get a flawless round. It's just something beautiful to see that you don't get to see a whole lot of. And Mr. Alex players Nitro's Thunder early on. I believe that's up Oil Pit towards Garage Door. The slaughter continues, man. Zero Risk is just understanding of how to defend Clubhouse is definitely something that should be feared potentially by more teams, even if this is their last map going forward. Lenny finds one to answer it back, so it's not all done just yet, but losing someone as powerful as Thunder early on with all 3 Finka boosts in pocket, oh man, that's gotta hurt going forward.
I mean, Finka is such an important operator. There's just no doubt. We can talk about it all the time, and the fact is, she's usually put on the player who can frag the most. Unfortunately for Thunder, he does get a lot of kills, but he also dies quite a bit too, and so he's not going to be able to survive much of this round. Luckily, we did see Lenny picking up the refrag onto Matt Umbo, so it's a 4v4. There's just about half the round left in this time, so it'll be interesting to see what the SpaceShoobs decide to do with that. They've got some good upstairs control. They're going to be looking to break it on down. You got Mock Turtle playing as the Jackal. He was on that hard breaching role, but you've got Kazadi back. You've got Roxo playing that as well, being the hatch menace that Hibana is. Now with just over a minute to go, it's going to be all about setting up that execute. You've got a lot of players still holding tight. You've got Catnip watching out through that kitchen or that big window, and might be able to find somebody coming through it if they're careful and lucky enough. With only 60 seconds left in this round, it's about time for SpaceShoobs to make their big execute. It's a 4v4, so there's going to be a lot of blood in these final 50 seconds.
Yeah, this is where we saw old Clubhouse before the attackers gained dominance really show why it was defender-sided. Getting in upstairs, not the hard part. Getting upstairs into the basement, that's where it comes hard. And you see people like Lenny trying to poke around this blue hatch, seeing what works and trying to get some form of value out of it. Just playing around all these hatches, trying to find any weakness in Zero Risk setup to push themselves forward into a round win is what they need right here. With only 20 seconds left, they're going to have to go fast, and Mock Turtle opens it up, dropping Moto, grabbing 2 for themselves. The PDW just very good on the day. They work their way all the way up blue, but it's quickly taken back by Shadow as Lenny falls. It's a 2v3 with Kazani putting the box down on the ground, and Mock Turtle grabs a 3rd for himself. The entry from him has just been great. They took him off the ace, but he hasn't stopped fragging. Box down on the ground by Kazani, the first of the plant of the day for him. He's usually so good on it. Probably would have gotten more if he was playing in the previous game, but Mock Turtle just trying to build more space in this round, taking this last duel against Catnip to try and get himself 4 in the round, but Kazadi wants one as well. What a much better round from SpaceShoobs to get this game back to closer to even 3-2.
So interesting to see that 20-second meta come back again. That used to be all we saw back in the day, is just the execute happening right at the 20 mark. And hey, it worked out for SpaceShoobs off the back of a tremendous triple kill from the lad Mock Turtle. You saw the plank going down by Kazadi. Everything very important to get that round win, and well, SpaceShoobs are able to do it. It'll be Zero Risk quickly heading back upstairs to their preferred floor, the 2nd floor being where they just love to be. Apparently, they've won quite a few sites up here, and they go back to Gym Bedroom. This is going to be an interesting one. CC is still, of course, locked off. They had a flawless round there. Now, Jim was a 50-50. We saw SpaceShoobs take it early on, but then Zero Risks just came right back, and they had a great job on the defense. So, a 3-3 or a 4-2 in favor of Zero Risk. It's all going to be up in the air until the end of this round. It's going to be interesting to see if Zero Risk can hold this off one last time. SpaceShoobs, they do look good, and they've been getting a little bit warmer and warmer as time goes on, but the same to be said, Zero Risk has had some amazing holds, and Mr. Alex looking great catnip early on. In fact, the entire team from Zero Risk doing a good job off the rip. SpaceShoobs, they need to be careful about how much they give up here. You don't want to lose Thunder early on. You don't want to lose Mock Turtle. You don't want to lose anybody, really. Lenny has opened up this map as well, and for Kazadi, just getting it in, getting those plants down, as well as getting final kills. Both teams look like they're starting to fire up, but some pretty big damage from Zero Risk early on, giving them that early 3-1 lead. SpaceShoobs on the back foot of their offense, now just trying to fight here for the 3-3.
Yeah, Matumbo is on drone there. I think you saw it tucked in the corner of Secret. He might not realize it, but the SpaceShoobs are aware of his position, and you see Thunder looking in that direction, not trying to be caught off guard by this Jaeger like he was in the couple of previous rounds there. Just Matumbo being in the face of SpaceShoobs early on, it's something that I said I wanted to see more of, and I'm glad to see it. Mr. Alex player as well, dancing around the space, just trying to get in some weird spots that maybe the SpaceShoobs aren't ready for, and take the battle to them early on. A minute into the round, and the SpaceShoobs are finally starting to get themselves set up here to try and clear out this cash hold. Last time we were here, Capnet on top red just went absolutely insane, picking up, I believe it was 3 kills before being felled there, but this time is choosing to play back in construction. Every time Zero Risk repeats the site, they do something just a little bit differently, and this is one of those adaptations. So hopefully the SpaceShoobs will be able to read into this at least enough to understand what's going on, and that's why we're seeing this change of pace here. They know that Jaeger was underneath them, and they don't quite know what Zero Risk is looking at ahead of them.
Just half the round left now. You've got Thunder still alive. There's so much cash presence from Zero Risk. Damage taken by Catnip is going to be there, but he's okay. He's sitting in construction, just trying to hold it out, trying to do what he can, doing what he has to. Still, it's not been a lot of space taken by the SpaceShoobs. They're finally going to make their move into the cache area, but Mock Turtle gets punished dearly for it. He'll be very low on HP. You do have the Finka with those boosts, trying to get him up a little bit more on the HP game. Looks like a little bit of a stall out right now from the SpaceShoobs, but we've seen how eruptive they can be when it comes to their executes. They just need to be able to push past them. We actually see the smoke coming out. They're doing a good job at capitalizing on this stall. They're not letting SpaceShoobs get out of the CC cache area, hardly even in cache at this point. Zero Risk are not playing easy mode right now. Monster with a frag, Thunder's right back onto him, but Mr. Alex follows up with a C4 of his own. The 4-3 brought to the 3-3 by Letty. Roxo brings it to the 3-2, and now SpaceShoobs do have the man advantage. There's still 30 seconds left on the board for them to complete this execute.
Lenny sending Roxo to go pick up the breadsticks this time, but an important kill for him to find as they get into this execute phase of the map. Wrapping around outside, using that cash presence to make sure Lenny can be safely on these windows as the last smoke canister comes out. Kazadi bringing the box through the main breach there, but Roxo finds a second one for himself before traded out by Mr. Alex player. Kazadi now trying to get the plant down close on this gym door. Does he spot out the foot? He does! Shoots him in the back, but it's not fast enough. Kazadi gets the plant down and is now in a post-plant situation. Mr. Alex player tucking around this bathroom, but Kazadi's too good on the day. Should have brought him in map 1, but he's playing map 2. That's 2 plants and another tie half for the SpaceShoobs.
Great job, dude. I mean, you saw how quickly that time was drained by Zero Risk, but SpaceShoobs, they say, it's fine. It's fine. Watch this. Watch our execute. And they make a great move to bring it to the 3-2, and then they just keep going from there. Lenny fell on his keyboard.
I couldn't say it better, man.
Oh, man. But that's the half done. That's going to be Zero Risk now going on to the attack. Again, that 3-3 split we saw from Cafe, we see it again here on Clubhouse. Are we going to go to another deep OT? Do we just spend hours and hours on the first 2 maps? Do we get to see a map 3 of Chalet? Now, SpaceShoobs on their defense. They love this map of Clubhouse. They've been able to win it most times that I've seen them play it, but a lot of that has come from the work they did on their offense. Here, their offensive work, not bad, not exceptional either. I mean, they definitely came alive in those last couple of rounds, winning 2 in a row to get us to that 3-3. They were looking a little dire after the first 4 rounds, but there's no doubt about it, the SpaceShoobs, not a team you can count out on their map pick. At the same time, Zero Risk. They have Mr. Alex going pretty crazy, up to 8 kills already, so watch out for these guys to really slug it out. It's been Thunder a little bit slower, but honestly, looking at the kill spread from SpaceShoobs, there's not a single player you could really ask to do more. Roxo, maybe a little bit, but you're always going to have that support player who's just dropping a couple of extra kills now and again. No big dealio. SpaceShoobs looking incredible after the second half of that first half. After that second quarter, perhaps.
Yeah, definitely a good wake up for SpaceShoobs going into what they typically has struggled on a little bit more this defensive half, kind of relying on some hero positions. Traditionally, they rely on Mock Turtle and Thunder to get the job done in some weird spots here. I'm glad you brought up the win rate because SpaceShoobs do have a 100% win rate on this map inside of the Xenon Gaming series. It's just something that I think they want to continue here. But with how Zero Risk is playing, it's not going to be an easy challenge for them. Look at how everywhere on the map they are right now. Player rafters, 2 on the roof, contesting the breach, playing around the windows early, chucking nades in. They're everywhere right now, man, and the SpaceShoobs don't have any room to breathe.
2 minutes left onto this board. Right now, we do have some pretty good aggression heading into this side. It's been a good job by Zero Risk to make sure that they keep pace, but there's just no doubt about it. The SpaceShoobs, they're a team to be feared. They're a team of absolute playmakers, and you never know where they're just going to jump on you and just take advantage of any mistake you make. Still pressure on red, but you've got quite a few of these guys sitting on that window looking for the opportunity to pick up those early kills. Catnip as well, just hunting and just ready to get something going. We've already seen half the round fly by, not a single kill in the sky as of yet, but you know what that means. The final 90 are going to be absolutely hectic. Thunder still in cash. He's holding it out. Mock Turtle has not been pressured out yet, but Thunder picks up onto Catnip. There's another, the double kill. Takes down Matumbo as well, and all of a sudden the 5v5 has turned to a 5v3. Monster says not so fast. He's ready to go, but Thunder answers, or excuse me, Lenny answers back. It'll be another kill as Roxo falls, as well as Kazadi down to the 2v3 with just over a minute to go.
A lot of mid-round aggression happening just like you predicted there, but the attack has now been condensed to just a single push here through the main breach that was opened up by Shadow earlier on. This castle barricade that normally provides coverage for that mute jammer on the wall, now letting them enter just a little bit safer here, but Lenny, who's already had a great round for himself so far, is trying to find more as Mock Turtle over-aggresses a little bit onto CC window and gets tagged up by Mr. Alex Player. They have 30 seconds left here to work with, and they're gonna have to force this plant down if they want to find success here. Mr. Alex Player working his way around outside, trying to pick his point of entry to best complement what Shadow is going for here, and with Lenny tucked in behind that bed, might be a position that he can't quite cover. Shadow working his way through bathroom, does pick up Lenny, so it's a 2v2, jumping in the window, both players now in the sights here. Mr. Alex finds another one on the Thunder. It's on Mock Turtle the clutch, but that's the box, dropped on the ground in bathroom. 10 seconds left to play. Mr. Alex Player's got to pick this box or get the kill. Mock Turtle running away, not giving him that as an option, forcing Mr. Alex Player to try and grab the diffuser and plant. It's gonna hit triple zeros on the clock if he does, and the plant started exactly on triple zeros. This is an easy cleanup for Mock Turtle. SpaceShoobs starting their defense off incredibly well.
That's what you want to see, man. Very, very smart heads-up play from Mock Turtle. I mean, dropping the diffuser and not engaging Mr. Alex. So smart. Something that we sometimes miss from players, and we don't miss it here. SpaceShoobs take the lead for, I believe, the first time on this map. They've been able to tie it back up, and now that's 3 rounds in a row going to them. They're doing great. Zero Risk are going to have to fight out of it. We'll head downstairs to Church Arsenal now. I'm trying to remember correctly, and I'll have to double check on this, but SpaceShoobs might be one of those teams that likes to avoid going to CC. I know I've seen Bar Stage come out a couple times, but maybe it's just because they like to save it for that tertiary site. Either way, we don't see it as of yet. They're going to go downstairs to Church Arsenal, another site that can be defended very, very well. It wasn't that good of a showing from Zero Risk, as we saw SpaceShoobs have a great execute. In fact, attacking for SpaceShoobs, they really have had some great executes, but the thing that they need to have is usually that good map control turning into at least a 5-5, 4-4, something around the similar man advantage. That's where they can really shine. It's about when either of these teams start to lose that man advantage, and when they start to go down to a 5-4, 5-3, is where they can struggle to pick it back up. And, well, for Zero Risk, trying to even the man count as well as the score count here to 4-4 is going to be incredibly important. We do see a pretty aggressive roam in the works from SpaceShoobs. You've got that Vigil, you got that Mute Mozzie combination, the Castle, as well as the Arudi. So could be a difficult roam to clear out for Zero Risk. We'll see how they can do.
Yeah, it definitely looks like SpaceShoobs are doing their take on an SSG roam, trying to contest as much of the map as safely as they can here, and it's very different to what Zero Risk were doing. The stylistic differences between these teams, man, it just makes me want to watch more and more of this, and I really hope we get to see a chalet. But the round getting started here, first 30 seconds, just trying to clear out the map as much as they can. Mr. Alex player choosing to enter over on that strip side to try and get some mid-floor congestion to try and force these roamers to get downstairs. That's the name of the game when you see something like an SSG roam come out, is convince these roamers that it's time to leave. To get them out with taking as few gunfights as possible, because if they get to choose when they're taking those gunfights, you gotta feel like they're gonna be favored to take those there. You saw some early droning coming out around Blue 2, potentially trying to think that they could rush out there, but Catnip choosing to Gon 6 these castle barricades towards the strip side with 3 members of Zero Risk out here and picks off Thunder too. I believe that isolates Mock Turtle from the rest of the team as he's now caught upstairs with the rest of the team in the basement as Zero Risk control the mid floor.
Yikes for our dear friend Mock Turtle. I mean, if there's anybody who can fight out of behind enemy line situations, it's got to be Mock, right? He's done amazing things. Thunder off the board pretty early on. It's been unfortunate. He's died almost every single round. Not quite, not quite. Roxo could die in every single round. He's still got the possibility. He'll try to stay alive as long as he can, though. Mr. Alex has reached the 10K mark. He's a real fragger, a real somebody to look up to when it comes to the potential this man has on the team. He's going to go upstairs, try to get that clear. There's only a minute left on the round, so we're starting to get to that time where, yeah, we're needing to see SpaceShoobs bunker on down, try to get a couple of picks, and the same for Zero Risk. They want to get opened up. They want to get moving on preparing for their execute unless they want to have a nice little 20-second meta of their own. They're approaching down the main stairs, looking wide, looking long, and there's a shot from Shadow to take down Mock Turtle. Now the 5v3, and there's only 40 seconds left. SpaceShoobs in a little bit of a difficult situation, there's no doubt.
Yeah, the SpaceShoobs do pick one back up for themselves, so they still have a chance in this round with only 30 seconds left on the clock and several members of Zero Risk still upstairs. But it's on the back of Lenny here, playing this blue position to try and deny this Moto door. He's got to go big here with that nade coming out, forcing him out a little bit more, picking up Kazadi as well. It's just looking more and more dire every second that goes by. Lenny's got to go huge here. He grabs one, can't quite grab the second. The switch in, not in fast enough. Roxo's in a 1v3. With only 10 seconds left, though, if he can find the planter, it could be round. He sees, spots the player in the hallway, tags him up, but it is a Finka, and Finka's just got more bullets. It's a very good round from Zero Risk, and definitely one that they needed.
So another equalizing round there brings us to the 4-4. Great job from Zero Risk. They were able to just take out the early roamer from Thunder. You didn't really see SpaceShoobs get the aggression on after that. Some good kills did come through with the player on that Aruni with Lenny. The P10 Roni, man, with 16 rounds, it's not enough for multiple engagements. And then the SMG-11 up against the Fink LMG, you highlighted it. It's just going to be more rounds coming at you. It's so difficult for these defenders to go in a really long, engaging fight. So a good job from Zero Risk to take advantage of that. Doing a good job continuing to put the pressure on the SpaceShoobs as we'll now head upstairs. It is going to be bar stage, so potentially avoiding that CC site as I mentioned previously. And this can be one of those sites where if you have strategy prepared for it, it can work really, really nicely, but still, it's not a site we see hardly ever. It is very exposed. There's a lot of vertical control that can be given up, but just the same, there's a lot of vertical control that can be taken by the defense. The big problem is drone clears, they can take some time, but most attacking teams are pretty proficient at making sure upstairs is very cleared out and there's no safe places for the defense to really lurk about on that top floor. I'm interested to see what SpaceShoobs can do. Right now, they've got a couple of big highlights on their team. Lenny, Mock, and Thunder all around the 7-6 kill range, while on the other side of that, you've got some consistency as well with Zero Risk, but you've got Mr. Alex who's been going above and beyond already, clipping that 12-4 KD. He's looking amazing and could be the big catalyst to send us to a map 3.
Bar as a site definitely got to see a lot more playtime and success when they got reworked firstly, and at the major that just happened there. I believe it was the second highest win rated site on Clubhouse, only behind Basement. But you are right. The big thing that defines how good a team is on Bar is not how well they can hold upstairs, because it's a given the attackers will get that. It's how well you can play the mid-floor site hold when it comes down into the execution phase. And with how aggressively Zero Risk is taking up through Bar, granted not entirely uncontested with Catnip losing most of their health there. But you've got to feel like this pressure coming in. You have to find ways to respond to it for SpaceShoobs if you want to win a site as awkward as this one. You see up there, Lenny playing on that hatch is probably where that damage came from, just leveraging these off angles that you don't necessarily encounter
Ooh.
into round pressure. Lenny grabs a kill for himself from this hatch all the way through to that strip door. As the Yannick load comes through, they just trying as hard as they can to dislodge Lenny here, but they haven't been able to successfully push him off yet, and that pressure he's applying from the hatch needs to be dealt with here soon if Zero Risk want to push in through here.
Half the round left now for Zero Risk to try to get this figured out. They've lost Monster, who's a pretty big name, back on Cafe. He's done a good job here as well, being outshined by his counterpart. Shadow gets a nice kill onto Lenny. Matt picks it up as well onto Mock Turtle. Certainly things starting to turn around in favor of Zero Risk. They've been able to clean out Lenny. Mock Turtle falls to both of the operators who can have a pretty big impact with their fragging capability are now gone. You've got Thunder, Roxo, and Kazadi. More of the anchoring happening as Catnip looks for the shot. Will be able to find Kazadi. Now a 4v2. Zero Risk look to take the lead right back in their favor, but Thunder and Roxo will still put up a fight. There's only 50 seconds left to go. Thunder holds out, gets a shot on. It's a nice kill to take down Catnip. All of a sudden, the 4-2 cut down to the 3-2. Both defenders at full HP, but so are all three of the attackers. Roxo falls down to the basement floor. He'll look to get a little bit of a flank on these main stairs. Might be able to find something dirty. Only 30 seconds remain. Here's the flank. He doesn't even realize it's a 2v2.
Very well played by Roxo there, as well as Thunder to keep chiming in for these kills. It's such an awkward site, so you play it awkwardly, you lean into it. These movements for Thunder and Roxo just finding advantages, and Roxo's all the way out in bathroom, and this player, Mr. Alex player, just doesn't know he's there till just then. 10 seconds left. He could go for a plant here, and he's gonna have to soon, but he's called out on a Maestro cam. Roxo will know what's going on here. He doesn't have to guess, and the Nitro Cell coming out doesn't quite find the kill, but the timer runs out, and the SpaceShoobs win one of the hardest sites to win on Clubhouse. Wow, what a round, man.
That was a roller coaster, man. Up and down. Amazing job. I'm so impressed with how SpaceShoobs is able to play in these really tight, even at the man disadvantage. I kind of said something about that, but honestly, they're making me eat my words. They are fighting out of these man disadvantages, and they're doing a great job of it, bringing it right back and then using the time to their advantage 100%. That's the second round that we've seen a plant needing to be attempted at the very last second, and this time it wasn't even able to go down. It was just tremendous heads-up play by SpaceShoobs, the information given by some of these cameras. SpaceShoobs take a good lead once more. It's a 5-4. They're only 2 rounds away from wrapping up map number 2, and with wrapping up map number 2, claiming their title as third place. Third place to who? We're not sure yet. That'll be decided in the grand finals, but Zero Risk need to fight back. Heading upstairs to Gym Bedroom. This was another site that they did lose. Another site that came very close to them winning, but SpaceShoobs just using all of the advantages that the defense gets, using them to get another round win would be absolutely huge here. That'd put them on a 6-4 scoreline, put them in match point. Zero Risk, they don't want to lose this one at all, and they've been getting so close. Mr. Alex has been a phenomenal player, but it needs to all come together right now, right here. You're up against a very, very deadly squad when it comes to the Clubhouse games.
Yeah, this round shouldn't even be that hard for Zero Risk to win. You highlighted how close it came before, and a lot of that just was with how badly Zero Risk botched the cash clear in the previous attempt up here. They didn't clear it out early, and when they started trying to hit site, they realized that they did need that space, and a Nitro from Roxo sending Matumbo sky high. It's just starting off from bad to worse, man. They need to in this round to avoid 2 match point attempts from SpaceShoobs, and when you start off like that, you at least can retrieve the box because it was dropped on the roof there, but it's not a great start here, and the wall's getting opened up here, but they haven't contested cash at all, and sending just 2 players to do it, one of them being Habana, you gotta feel like that's a tall task, but if they can make it happen, it could be their key to success.
2 minutes left in this round as Shadow, Catnip, Monster, and Alex are going to be looking to get an evening kill onto the SpaceShoobs. Alex enters on in. There's lots of players ready to go, but none of them are holding out quite so yet. We're going to be looking to enter in to the CC area. You've got the Hibana using some of her pellets, interestingly, on that soft wall. Not sure if that was what they're going for, but they'll be able to open it up. Shadow drops in as well. He'll be looking towards the construction area. Catnip takes a lick of damage as he prepares to enter in through those Hibana pellets, crawling their way through and looking onto that red area. That stair hold can be a real time waster when it comes to these teams. You got that shield there. You've got the Jaeger playing. Mock Turtle is ready to go. Nades are coming in, and now he's going to be pressured out in a dangerous position. A nade for Monster actually takes down Kazadi, and now we're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of this round. Mock Turtle will swing through Cash. Might be able to find the head. Just ducks out as they come through. Just a minute to go, and both teams looking a little antsy in the final minute.
And that was some good movement by SpaceShoobs, though. Thunder and Mock Turtle escaping CC Cash without a scratch, bringing all of Zero Risk off of that breach to come try and pressure them out, and escaping with no damage taken. Well played to them, and now we're in 45 seconds left, and Zero Risk have to make their way into the site. Monster's got the off angle here, playing off of that breach that was opened earlier on in the round. He's going to have to go huge in at least denying this movement path for the side of the Shoobs, but there's no one out on the breach just yet, so Thunder's able to claim this off angle that you see here behind the fallen bed in such a weird angle, able to contest on the door, and Shadow's just not ready for that angle. That's an opening kill in the execution part, 2 of them for the Shoobs. It's a 4v2 here. Zero Risk is going to have to make this work in the last 15 seconds if they want to avoid match point, but Thunder's had enough of this game. Going up against 100 bullets, he's going to keep dueling it. He might lose it out, and so does Mock Turtle. This is still winnable with 7 seconds left, but Lenny's had enough. Match point for the Shoobs. 2 attempts at it, but they've got to win one of the sites that came closer, the site they lost, to make it happen.
Looking for that flawless rotation to end it, but as you mentioned, going downstairs to Church Arsenal, which interestingly, out of the two times we've seen it so far this map, it's been won by the attacking side, both of those. So I'm excited to see if any changes are going to come through here. As of right now, looks like the exact same setup for the defensive side. You've got that Mozzie, that Vigil, the Mute, the Castle. So another big heavy roam coming through. It was tough for Lenny on that Aruna. You saw those 2 players come on into Church. Was able to take down one of them, but had to reload. Didn't have time to switch to the secondary, and was cut down there. Could have been a real game changer, but Zero Risk, they're in the business of game changers because they're going to need a couple of them to force OT. They've been in a similar position before where they had to win all those rounds to get here. In fact, I think it was the exact same scoreline they were facing down, where on 11 and 12 they had to win to get us out. So it'll be interesting to see if Zero Risk can once again rally themselves up to push this, or does SpaceShoobs have a lock, and can they claim around a 4-2 defensive split on their own half. I'm really excited to see SpaceShoobs have looked great off of those 2 defenses, but here, this is where the proving grounds are going to be in full swing.
Yeah, it's also, I think, something very interesting that we haven't really touched on a lot is just the difference between the 2 groups that we saw. SpaceShoobs coming from the Atomic Division and Zero Risk coming from the Delta Division as the first seed. So far, the Atomic Division has not lost any best of 3s to the Delta Division, and it seems like the SpaceShoobs are trying to keep that trend going, just saying, no, I might be 3rd from my group, but we could have won yours. And just that kind of confidence coming into this round is going to be pivotal for them if they want to actually send this home. You talked about Lenny running out of bullets before. Well, he just changed out the gun that shoots slower so that he'll run out of bullets just a little bit, not quite as fast as before. But it is this very similar roam game coming out from the Shoobs that got kind of dismantled by Zero Risk earlier on. And this early fight is a little sloppy, but who's going to win it out early? They pivot around the door. Pistol comes out. You have a Gone 6. You can't kill with that. Mock Turtle finds the opening pick, and it's a significantly better roam so far from SpaceShoobs. Sloppy, sure, but it's successful nonetheless. And it's a minute down and a player down for the side of Zero Risk.
Oh, dude, Mock Turtle is just able to get himself out of these situations. Thunder is able to get himself into these situations as well. Picks up Monster, the Vigil. Oh, this feels bad for Zero Risk. They're already 2 players down, and SpaceShoobs, well, they're on match point. They win this, it's all over. It's a 2-0 victory going to the Shoobs. Zero Risk, they don't want to let that happen. Shadow, Matt, as well as Alex will be doing all they can. Alex has been such a great player, up to 15 kills. It's been a little unfortunate that his team just hasn't been up to that same mark over and over again. He's been so consistent pretty much through any map that we see him play. We'll see what he can do here. There's still plenty of time to break this back down. The SpaceShoobs, they're looking good. They're sitting pretty, but you know what? Tides can turn. Tables can swing as well. So, Mr. Alex moving through dirt. Does he find a pick here, trying to even it up a little bit? No one is actively inside of dirt, but they'll be recognizing him as soon as he starts to shoot through that wall. There's a player just to the left there. And with 57 seconds left on the board, it'll be up to Zero Risk and these three remaining players to get it all done. He's got the information out, takes the shots out. They don't expect him. Looks for another, but it's killed. Mock Turtle gets it to the 2v4. It'll be all Matt and Shadow in the final 40.
Matt and Shadow have so much work left for them. Only 40 seconds left, and all of these anchoring heavy positions here by the Shoobs. They're not playing solo here. They're all in positions to try and trade each other out. They don't want to give up anyone untraded here going forward, but Mock Turtle swings dirt anyways and grabs one for himself. Matumbo gets another one, though, but he can't find the other three. Thunder shuts it down. That's a 2-0 victory for the SpaceShoobs. They claim third place in the Xenon Gaming Series. What a series. We might not have gotten to see Chalet, but the just absolutely incredible rounds coming back and forth between Zero Risk and SpaceShoobs here. Definitely one for the ages, and if this is the third place match, I cannot wait for the first place match coming up on Sunday.
No, absolutely not. It's going to be a best of 5 between Mr. Pang and Valence Academy, so don't miss that one. But wow, what a game. You mentioned that we didn't get to go see Chalet, but after that 9-7 on Cafe, I feel like we saw plenty of Siege nonetheless. A phenomenal job to both teams. It's unfortunate for Zero Risk. I feel like they've really got a great squad, but I don't know. It just doesn't click when it needs to. We saw SpaceShoobs take those 3 rounds in a row. No doubt about it. Back on Cafe, they were able to close it out. And here again, another 3-round in a row run that shuts down Zero Risk for the last time of this season. A phenomenal job to the SpaceShoobs. They need to be very proud of themselves and this season. Just getting to the playoffs was a big enough task. So phenomenal job to the guys on Shoobs, and a great work as well from Zero Risk. I'm excited to see how both teams continue to develop and continue to play, as hopefully they'll stick around. Of course, it's T3, you never know, but some great work from both sides.
Yeah, SpaceShoobs definitely a very relatively new team. I'm pretty sure this is their first tournament that they've ever played together. So this is definitely a good starting spot for most of these players. You saw players like Mock Turtle, Thunder, Lenny even had his moments to shine. I believe his last league turned a 1v3 into an overtime extension on Border. Just some crazy plays coming out from all of them. Same with the side of Zero Risk, some great players there. Maybe just they need a little bit more time. They got to look over some things to get something going, but they didn't look bad here. And you got to think that if these are like the starting blocks for these players going forward, they can definitely accomplish some great things going forward. With us, though, we're going to take a quick break, and we should have an interview coming up with one of the members of SpaceShoobs. We don't quite know yet who it's going to be, so it's a little bit of a surprise for us, but stay tuned because you're not going to want to miss that.
So now you're here again, knocking at my door. A little too late for, I'm sorry for. The lights went out cause you kept cutting the cord. And I started to fade into your gray. See, I finally opened up my eyes, and I saw me coming back to life. That I'd be better without you inside. It's time to be someone I wanna recognize. The future starts right now. I made a reservation, but you never came, so I'm checking out. The fire you stole away. I know one day we'll come back around. The future is now. The future is now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the post-game interview. My name's Slayzilla. I'm joined with the lovely Myst, and this was the the final before the final, right? The big, the
Yes,
big,
sir.
the big third place decider, and it was a great battle between Zero Risk and SpaceShoobs. It was a 2-0 victory going through for the Shoobs, and we have one of their big members here, one of the legends. It's Letty on the call. Letty, talk to me. How you doing?
Hi, Slay. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. We just watched an
Good.
amazing series. You guys kept it to a best of
Uh,
two. Well, not a best. You kept it to two maps. So props on you guys. You fought hard. Let's jump into a little bit of cafe here. You started off a little slow in cafe, but you did jump up onto Clubhouse. So I won't leave you hanging there.
mm.
Let's talk about how did you feel when Thunder got like 12 kills without dying? What were the comms on like that for that?
Um, basically, I wasn't really saying much because, like, I wasn't doing good, so I wasn't like trying to bring the team down. So basically, Thunder was kind of just doing his normal entry stuff. We had Roxo on the drone, Mocktail was also joining him in, and Thunder is just very good at it, doing his entry job, and yeah, I don't know, he was just being up Thunder,
Being a Thunder, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
dude.
you couldn't say it
You
better.
just can't peak Thunder.
Yeah, if for any time for Thunder to become himself, that was definitely a time for it. I want to talk about that cafe overtime. We saw it dip into infinite overtime just a little bit there with ending 9-7, but you guys actually lost that first round of overtime and then took a timeout and won three in a row. So, what were you guys talking about during that timeout, and what was kind of going through your mind to try and flip that on its head and turning it into a 9-7 victory for you guys?
Okay. So basically, our coach was AFK, so we did not have a coach for that. But Thunder just, I don't know what happened with Thunder, but he just started giving us like, I don't know, like what to do. He was like, do this, go for this hatch, do that, get this wall. Like I don't know. Thunder just kind of went crazy with the IGL at that round, and yeah, I don't know. We just Thunder, just being Thunder, the entry IGL. Like I don't know.
He does it
Pretty
all,
much it.
man.
I know that whole cafe game was pretty much just done. Well, not really.
I
Most
mean,
of it.
Don't discount Mock Turtle.
Plus,
Mock Turtle
yeah,
did
to be
step
honest, I
up.
can't.
No, that was a great game on Cafe. You guys were able to, after that, take those 3 rounds in a row, send it right into Clubhouse. Now, Lenny, Clubhouse is kind of the Space Shoobs bread and butter. You guys love Clubhouse. Is there a reason? Do you guys just prefer it? Or what's the deal when it comes to Clubhouse?
Clubhouse is pretty much our comfort pick. Like we scrim that map the most. Um, yeah, we just I don't know, we just like the Clubhouse. It is my favorite,
Hmm.
too.
So
It's just
just a follow up to that. It's your comfort pick, but let's be honest, it is one of the most common maps in Siege right now. It's very common and competitive. What makes you guys different when it comes to this? Because if it's your comfort map, it's going to be a lot of other teams' comfort maps. So why are you guys so successful over and over again on Clubhouse?
hmm hmm. Honestly, I just think it's like the chemistry. Like we just all know what to do on like what time to do. Like it's just
Mhm.
I don't know, like we just played a lot. We scrimmed it a bunch. We just know how to do it. Like oh, one thing to keep in mind, we have not scrimmed it since our last Mr. Pain game at all. We have not done a single prep, we did not scrim. So like
Oh no.
yeah.
Well, you
So
guys definitely exited the doghouse on this one, man. There's one
yes.
question I did have on Clubhouse. It was a little bit more off kilter. We saw Basement having a very low priority in that game and a very low win weight to go through it. What was kind of going on there? Because we saw both teams lose it once, and you guys won it for the final round there. Was something just not working on it today? Just talk to me. What was going on with that site?
Wait,
Basement.
what site? Basement? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So basically, basement. I feel like the roam was a little weak in the first set, like the first time we went there. But like after like a few rounds, we came back to basement, then we fixed that up. We all fell back to site. I mean, the roam fell back to site a little earlier this time after they get their first pick, and I don't know. I feel like we just played it more smarter the last
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, phenomenal job tonight, Lenny. I'm going to kick it over to you. If you have anybody you'd like to thank, any call out you'd like to make, any words of wisdom to anybody out there, the floor is now yours, Lenny.
Oh, oh my. Uh, I love Mr. Pang. Okay, that's the first thing I gotta say. Second thing is I love you, Slayzilla. Um, and um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, thanks for the game, Zero Risk. It was very fun. Gotta keep that in mind. Um, fun game.
Fun
Yeah,
game.
that's it. Fun game. I don't know.
Well, well, Lenny, thank you for joining us on this interview. Congratulations on taking third place, and along with it, $25 in free admission for the season 3
Oh,
qualifiers, the Xenon Gaming Series. We look forward to seeing what you guys are able to put up in the future there. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you all for watching. This was a great series. We've got one more Xenon Gaming Series set to come out for you for season 2. That's a best of 5 coming on this Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time between Mr. Pang Esports Worldwide and Valence Academy, recently rebranded, picked up by them. Should be a great match. You don't want to miss that one. We'll see you guys there.
you, baby. Cause I need you, baby. If you text me, say you need me. Even if it ain't real, you're just missing me. I'll be on the way, we'll spin and get it free. I'll be here, spending time on the right sheets. We ain't tired, but act like we need to sleep. Then I think about your body, feel your fantasies. We don't sleep, we can't sleep. Split highs with you, in the bed, in the pool. Moods on too. Tell me what you need, cause I need you, baby. I'll set the cards to red. Temperature 68.